Welcome to Talladega Super Speedway. I'm Alex Hayden, and we're here today for 500 miles of high-intensity super speedway racing at one of the most unique tracks on the NASCAR schedule. The constant risk of the big one around every corner means that every driver has a shot today. Pre-race ceremonies are done, and we're ready to head down to pit road where the drivers and teams are making their final preparations.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of NASCAR 22 on the channel, and today we are racing at the Talladega Super Speedway for the running of the Geico 500 on our 10th race of the custom schedule season. And this is going to be an interesting 10th race because we are super speedway racing for the third time this year, but at the second different track, Talladega. Again, first of 3 races at this track, and it's the third of 9 races in the regular season on a super speedway. We currently sit at 6 different winners on the year, so still 10 playoff spots left open. The good news is for our driver, Greg Biffle, is that we do have multiple wins on the season, so no matter how far points may get out of hand as we get closer to the end of the regular season, we'll be locked into the playoffs. We should be locked into the top 30 in points as well, as we're sitting with the most wins this year so far with 3. Ryan Blaney has 2 wins on the season, and then we have a few drivers with 1 win on the year. Kurt Busch, Martin Truex Jr., Daniel Suarez, who won the Daytona 500, so he might be one to look out for today, and Christopher Bell just coming off a win in the last race last week, which was the 9th race of the season, and that ended up taking place at the, scroll back my notes, Dover, 50% race at Dover, in fact. So we have 3 of the 4 50% races out of the way. We do have a 50% race at Talladega later this year, but that is not until race 22, so we have a while until then. Thanks for everybody tuning in today. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content if you haven't already. We'll look at tonight's starting lineup. Kurt Busch will be on the pole trying to go for his second win of the season. Cody Ware on the outside of the front row as well. His best career start in a NASCAR Cup race. Now, I did not qualify, no practice, so the starting order is randomized. That's why you see Cody Ware and probably some other backmarker cars towards the front of the field as well. Row 2, you got William Byron and Kyle Busch. They are both tied in the point standings as of right now in the top 10 of the regular season standings at that. Garrett Smithley, Alex Bowman will be in row 3. So both the Rick Ware cars starting in the top 5 today. Bowman's still trying to go for his first win. He's sitting somewhat comfortably above the cutoff line, comfortably in the sense that we still... or that he is plus 40 to the good right around there. The bad news is we have a lot of super speedway races left. Like I mentioned, even drivers like Kevin Harvick who are over 100 points to the good, you don't know how they're going to finish knowing we have 7 more super speedway races left in the regular season. And we don't know how many different winners we're going to get as a result of that as well. So that could play into effect here as well. Row number 4 will be AJ Allmendinger and Kevin Harvick. I mentioned Harvick sitting pretty good. He's the highest driver in the point standings as of right now without a win, and he's also the regular season points leader. Took that away from Greg Biffle after the last race. Daniel Suarez, who won the Daytona 500, again, one to look out for today. He'll be on the inside of row 5, and Josh Bilicki to his outside. So those are the drivers starting in the top 10. Again, our driver, Greg Biffle, will be starting at the rear of the field. Michael Turner, Patrick Shadley, Rowdy Fan 8, Riley 1645, Billy Kramer, Joshua Rumsey, Ethan. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. 60 laps, stage 1. 500 miles today, 188 laps, and the green flag is in the air. We are racing at the Talladega Super Speedway. No stability help on as well in this race, and this is going to be a little sketchy here, trying to get through the pack. Not going to lie. Definitely got to watch out for any potential checkups, and there we have one off turn 2. Can't pass below that double yellow line right now. Honestly, no practice is scaring me a little bit because I haven't played this game in like a week. I played NASCAR 07, and that's why I'm kind of twitching around quite a bit right now in the straightaways. I don't want to be doing that. Really got to kind of get the feel for it. Kind of glad I'm starting at the back, so that way I can get a feel for the car. Try to jump to the outside here. There's a little bit more space up here. There's nobody to really help draft with. Don't want the leaders to get too far out ahead. Just got to hope we stay caution-free, really, though. Way out of the gas, making sure we don't run into the back of anybody. Don't even really feel comfortable bump drafting with these cars in this game. Casgrella already over half a second behind. He's losing this lead pack. And Greg Biffle feels confident. He had a fast car at Daytona. He actually qualified on the pole both of the first two races of the season at Daytona, the 500, of course, and then we had a 50% night race, which was only 80 laps in length as well. Won a stage in that one. Doesn't have any drafting help from behind, so he has to make sure he doesn't lose the draft here. Just trying to be patient. 60 laps in this first stage. Everybody will have to pit at some point in stage one. Nice little run going into turn one for Biffle. 3 cars pulling away at the very front of the field right now. Biffle making a couple passes for position in turns 1 and 2 on Corey LaJoie, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., a couple Chevrolets at the very tail end of the field. Staying down on that double yellow line. Austin Dillon in the 3 is the car right in front of Greg Biffle. Speed's going to be there. It's just all about trying to keep control of the race car. Very close to that back bumper of the 3 of Austin Dillon as well. Going to try to go to the outside. Bubba Wallace leading the charge up there. Greg Biffle going to be 3 wide on the top. Maybe not exactly where he wants to be right now. Chase Elliott in the middle. Stenhouse back down towards the bottom. A little bit of help for Biffle off the 2311 Toyota of Bubba Wallace. And by the exit of the corner, it's going to pull Greg Biffle in line. Stenhouse looking to go up the middle. Now there's no help in front of Greg Biffle, so that's going to be interesting because Wallace pulls down to the bottom in front of Stenhouse. Todd Gillen in the 38's up on the outside, and he's got no help in front of him. Greg Biffle's got a massive run on Gillen. Goes to the outside, going to split him. He wants to be the leader in this outside lane. Bubba Wallace now moving up in front of Biffle. Big block. Biffle had to get out of the gas. Undercuts down to the bottom on Wallace as he found a hole. No rear view mirror in this game makes this very difficult as well. A lot of 2 and 3 wide racing in that lead pack up there. And a massive run right now for Biffle going into turn 1. He's going for it. BJ McLeod to the outside. Greg Biffle just squeezes by. Wasn't sure how high up the racetrack he was going to go. Austin Dillon poking out a line right now. Will he go with the Biff? No, he does not. No help right now, and that's what stalled out the 44 car going into turn 1. Gigi Haley down on the bottom behind the Colleague Racing Chevrolet of Justin Haley, who's off to an incredible start this year. Still in the top 16 in points after the first quarter of the season. Man, 3 cars are just breaking away from the rest of the field. You just got to hope that we don't get the big one here that causes a potential scoring glitch. Haley's got that little bit of a gap between himself and Justin Haley right now. Greg Biffle going to pull to the bottom behind Haley. Had enough room in front of Austin Dillon in the 3. And we'll see if the second group ends up catching this. I'm going to call it the lead pack, even though the top 3 cars have pulled away. Haley pulling out a line now. Greg Biffle staying with the 31 on the bottom. A get by the 55. And he's willing to kind of stay behind Justin Haley until they catch this next group. Which a lot of 2x2 racing up there. Seems to be a lot more single file in this pack. And Haley and Biffle are actually kind of pulling away just a little bit from the rest of the pack behind them. But if Justin Haley can get a little bit of a draft off the cars in front of him, that'd be big. Biffle going back to the outside. He had a run in the tri-oval. Justin Haley did not try to block. He will clear Justin Haley into turn 1, swapping for position there. And now he's got a massive run in the draft in turns 1 and 2. And he's really going to look to go for it. The back straightaway, Ryan Blaney in the 12 is in front of him. Really, I mean, he could have went up the middle 3 wide, but that was really the only lane open. Didn't feel comfortable with it. He's about a half a second still ahead of Justin Haley. A lot of Fords going to the outside. Not sure where Blaney's going. He thought about going to the top, goes back to the bottom. Biffle was going to go to the outside until Blaney decided to. Trying to watch the gap of cars behind us, see how close they're going to get to us, because when that happens, then we're not going to have a lot of room for error, but at least there's a little bit of a gap back there for now, which makes it feel a little bit more comfortable if you're Greg Biffle. I don't know if Justin Haley's strong enough to lead that group up there or not. Definitely no Bubba Wallace would be. Towards the outside, but they stacked up even more than the bottom. Biffle chose the wrong lane. Now he'll get underneath of Ryan Blaney. Austin Cindric moving down. Doesn't go all the way to the double yellow line, though. Greg Biffle's going to get around him. Larson moves to the bottom. Off of turn 4, and Greg Biffle just to the outside of Garrett Smithley in the 15. And they are 3 wide in front of Greg Biffle. As he gets to the outside of the 5 car there of Kyle Larson. Oh boy, into the wall, he blew a right front. Wow. It didn't really look like he hit the wall that hard, but I guess he did, and the right front tire blew out on Greg Biffle's race car. Somehow makes the save in the center of the corner. And he's going to have to go the long way around the racetrack as cars are getting by on the inside. He bump drafted Ross Chastain, and that kind of knocked the car up the racetrack, got really tight, and then he blew a right front tire. And it didn't look like, again, he hit the wall that hard. He just kind of scraped it. I don't know how the heck I saved that thing, honestly. Biffle going to have to come into the pits, though. Gonna have to get down to pit road speed. He's gonna have that first pit box. 55 miles per hour is the pit road speed limit, and he is on pit road. And he is more than likely gonna end up going a lap down here. He may be able to make it on fuel to the end of the stage. It's tough to tell for sure. It didn't, I mean, the car's not damaged. I mean, you look at the race car, it looks pretty fine. I don't know how that blew a right front tire. I'm kind of surprised, to be completely honest. Yeah, they checked up on the outside, and, I mean, I got out of the gas, but obviously wasn't enough. And again, you would imagine Greg Biffle's going to end up going a lap down. He might get lucky and stay on the lead lap, but no, there's no way. Yeah, there go the leaders. That was the pack he was in. And obviously the top 3 have already driven away. I don't think Greg Biffle will make it on fuel to the end of this stage. Oh my gosh. Car just broke loose. Getting up to speed now. This game, man. I tell you what. Not out of it. Long ways to go. We're only 10 laps in. We've got a fast car. We got a long race. Just gonna have to be patient. I think Biffle's gonna have to pit before the end of the stage yet, so it's gonna be tough to get back on the lead lap. I mean, the good news is he can stay out as long as he can, hoping for a caution. And if we get a yellow, he's going to definitely hit pit road. He's in danger of losing a lap, though, due to a scoring glitch. Austin Dillon's really lost this pack in the 3 car all by himself. Haven't had a glitch in WWE 2K23 so far, but that's good. Can't remember the last, I think the last 2K game I played for WWE was 19. Which was like the glitchiest game. Well, tires do matter on this game, even at Talladega, so. Between that, I think this car's still going to have decent speed in it. I would like to think it will. Because again, the car doesn't really have any damage, despite the fact I blew the right front tire. I'm wondering how that light of a hit blew a tire. And I know it's possible in this game because it's happened before, but it also has been a while since I've hit the wall that softly and blew a tire. I mean, it was a light scrape. Chase Elliott's still back at 35th. No drafting help for Greg Biffle, though, so he's going to be burning through fuel quite a bit. Alternate through the different camera angles for the first time today. Well, Biffle's all by himself. Man, that stinks too, because I was being very, very patient. I wasn't too worried about the top three getting away. I just wanted to kind of... I wasn't really passing cars once we got to that bigger pack from pretty much fourth on back to wherever we were running at the time of me blowing the right front tire. I had no problem running the outside if I had to. Cars underneath me, as long as I wasn't three wide. I went three wide like twice that whole time, but I made it through that. I wasn't even three wide. I mean, there was a stack up on the outside lane. The inside was fine. It didn't look like they checked up at all. But the outside lane definitely checked up. And bump drafted Chastain, and for whatever reason, my car ended up going up the racetrack. Honestly, though, when I blew the right front tire, after bouncing off the wall, it slid sideways. I don't know how I was able to catch it. And I'm glad I did, because the rest of the pack was around me. That definitely would have sparked the big one. And then our car would have been torn up. But, I mean, we made a great save, and here we are. War games as intense as it is. At least you're not actually taking the bumps that they do in real life, so. Much rather play from the video game side of things. Sticking me in a cage. Seven other men. I'd be the heel that tries to weasel myself out of having to take as many bumps as possible. I'd be that kind of guy. All talk, no bite. Biffle has been losing the pack of cars up ahead of him because he has no drafting help. And that would be the issue with racing for New York Racing. I put myself into this situation. Like my face like it is, yeah, me too. My face, the rest of my body, I want her beaten and battered. Definitely gonna have to find a way to go off strategy. I think the best thing that can happen here for Greg Biffle is we stay green to the end of the stage, and then Greg Biffle ends up one lap down, because everybody will have to pit one more time. I just really hope the leaders don't... I just have a feeling they're going to catch back up to us with us not having any drafting help, unfortunately. So we just got to hope. Just no major issue. I'm scared if we get a caution and I go 2 laps down because of a scoring glitch. That's what I'm scared about, being this far off the leaders and already 1 lap down. That was just an unfortunate circumstance, really. I mean, it was just a racing deal. I mean, it does suck the game had us blow a tire when I, like, barely tapped the wall. It just goes to show there's a little room for error in this game when you have complex damage on and no stability help, so it's tough. I'm just glad I was able to save it and we stayed in the race. Our race could have ended 10 laps in. It's not over. I know I'm a lap down, but we have a long ways to go to try to get back into this. We know we're definitely going to have 2 stage breaks. I think in the Daytona 500, if I remember correctly, which was the only other full race we have done on a super speedway this season, we had 2 cautions for incident. We have 1 in stage 1 and 1 in the final stage. So we'll have restarts to try to get back into this and maybe pit to go off strategy. Now we're definitely starting to close in on these cars up ahead. The more they start lane changing and running side by side, they were a lot more coordinated a little bit ago. They could have a slower car trying to lead the pack too, but I'm not entirely sure there. Like golf, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't have to worry about ever... The only thing that ever happened to me on a golf course where I was remotely hurt, and it wasn't even like from actually golfing. I remember like looking up. It's the weirdest thing. But I looked up once after a bad shot, and then I looked back down and my neck was stiff for like 2 days. And I don't know what happened there. I like pulled something somehow when I looked up at the sky after it was probably like after a bad shot or something. I was like, oh, what'd I do? And then like I looked back down and my neck was just like stiff for 2 days. Like when I was sleeping, I could like feel it when I rolled over. It was weird. Like I must have pinched a nerve or something. I don't know if it was like in my shot, and then like when I looked up, it just like caused it to like get worse or something. I don't know. It was strange. I've never had anything like that before or since. That was like, it wasn't even last year. It was like the year before when I played. I mean, I would hope it's not my, my swing. It's like bad for my neck or something. But at the same time, like, I didn't have an issue with it last year, so it was just that one time randomly. I can remember that. Well, Greg Biffle definitely in the draft now. He's going to try to get through these guys as quickly as he possibly can. Not wasting any time going 3 wide to the top. It's a gutsy move from Greg Biffle, to say the least, going to the outside like that after he blew a tire earlier in the race. Doesn't have any drafting help in front of him anymore. It's going to be tough to get back down to the bottom. And this is where the lane is going to stall out for him unless he gets some help. And now he does get a little help going into turns 3 and 4. 78 car BJ McLeod up on the outside. Biffle staying in the gas again as he splits McLeod 3 wide. Got around him off the exit of turn 4. He's on the outside of the 38 still. So Greg Biffle being a little bit more aggressive here. Todd Gillen moves up in front of him just for a skosh. To get back down to the bottom to catch a little more draft and then clear these guys, but no hole yet. I think behind Corey LaJoie there's going to be a hole. LaJoie still to the inside of Biffle. Not cleared yet. Biffle going to get out of the gas, and now he's going to pull to the bottom as Ty Dillon is closing in, but Biffle saw that gap, knew what he had to do, he went for it. Chase Briscoe, Ty Dillon couldn't close that gap quick enough. And now Biffle's riding back in line again. Dillon hopped out of line, then when he went back down to the bottom, where LaJoie checked up, Biffle now moving to the inside of the 7. Closing in very quickly on Bubba Wallace. I thought Bubba was going to have a faster car in this thing. Guess not. Now I know how the drivers feel. Look at this camera. Like, you cannot see anything. When you're trapped behind another car with these taller rear spoilers. These aren't even as tall as what they were in the Gen 6 era. I'm not even bump drafting him. I'm trying not to. Couldn't even imagine when you're bump drafting. This makes it even harder, though, when you don't have a rearview mirror. That doesn't help either. Biffle getting to the inside of Todd Gilliland. Gilliland moved up just a little bit in the tri-oval. Biffle's able to clear. Gilliland going backwards now, and Greg Biffle has gotten through that pack. So it took him about 4 laps, but he does get through it. Curious to know if he's going to start pulling away. He'll move to the outside on the back straightaway here. Trying to break the draft from the cars behind him. Go back down towards the bottom. They get a run at him and they move to the outside. You know, so be it. If you're Greg Biffle, you just can't block. Almost halfway through stage 1. Briscoe getting a big run in the tri-oval. He's got Ty Dillon pushing him. Surprised that Briscoe and Dillon were able to get through that pack too. Towards the tail end of it a little bit ago. And there are 2 cars, actually 1 car, J.J. Yaley in the 55. So Greg Biffle's leading this pack too. I definitely know we can't go 50 laps on fuel, though, at Talladega. That's what stings. Like, if that would have happened, like, 20 laps in, we may have been able to make it to the end of the stage. But I definitely know that we can't. As soon as Biffle catches Yaley, he's going to make a move on him. Curious to know if Chase Briscoe will follow. Biffle going to have to make sure that Briscoe doesn't get a run. Simultaneously, there we go, picking up the speed in the draft, moving to the outside. Back straightaway, Yaley stays on the bottom. Smart move by the 55, veteran. DJ Yaley's been in NASCAR for a while. In fact, our NASCAR 07 season, that's his first year in the Cup Series, 2006. They are splitting him. I think they split him 3 wide there for a second. Briscoe did clear, as well as Ty Dillon. We're moving back to the bottom off of turn 4. They're about 8/10 of a second now behind Greg Biffle. Lap 27. Talladega Superspeedway and the running of the Geico 500 on NASCAR 22. Sure to like and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content if you haven't already. Single file line back there. Now they're going to likely sync up and catch Greg Biffle. Maybe. I don't know if they're close enough to get in the draft on them, but you would think they should. Physics in this game say otherwise sometimes. I mean, you can see that big pack up there. It does seem like Biffle's slightly quicker. I'm a better driver than J.J. Yaley. J.J. Yaley's a phenomenal dirt racer. I don't think a lot of NASCAR fans realize or know about his dirt racing background. He is a great dirt racer. He actually holds the track record at my local dirt track in a wingless sprint car. 410 wingless sprint car. I don't know if he was a USAC champion or not. I definitely know he was at the highest level in the USAC series, won some races. Just never translated well into NASCAR. Not everybody can make that translation. We're going to the outside on the back straightaway. Whatever draft that Chase Briscoe, JJ Yaley, and them guys were trying to get on Greg Biffle. Biffle was trying to make sure that they weren't going to get it. About 2/10 quicker than Briscoe that last lap, who's the lead car in that last pack. And I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that Biffle does have about 10 lap pressure tires. Again, for some reason the tires really do matter here at Talladega, so we're going to be taking 4 tires every single time. They matter more here than what they do in NASCAR 07 on bumpy Talladega or Daytona. Like, I was taking 2 tires every green flag stop in our NASCAR 07 Daytona 500, and it worked out. We won the race on that strategy. And we went fuel only on the last one. That last run that we only had to go like 17 laps or whatever it was, so yeah, I don't know, that was strange. 2003 won the USAC championship. That's what I thought. I thought he was the USAC champ. Yeah, he's a phenomenal dirt racer. Surprised he never went back to that full time. Just kind of stayed where the money was in NASCAR, I guess. Even, you know, driving like backmarker teams in the Cup Series all these years, Cup and Xfinity every weekend all these years, he was probably making more than what he would have dirt racing. That's got to be the only reason he did it, you would imagine. Or he did have dreams and aspirations of racing in NASCAR, and he's like, hey, if this is the only way I can do it, I'll be damned if I can't. You know, like, at least I can do this. He stays out of trouble. And that's why he gets those kinds of rides. He keeps himself out of trouble.
Only a few laps till we pit.
So we are on lap 32 right now. Probably about a quarter tank of gas left at this point in the run for Biffle. Biffle's 2 seconds ahead of Briscoe. I mean, we definitely know the rest of the leaders are going to have to pit before Biffle, and they haven't pit yet. Best case scenario, we get a caution after everybody pits that gets Greg Biffle back on the lead lap, that he can pit under caution, not have to make another green flag pit stop, and he can get back into this race that way. Actually, he still has a little more than a quarter tank of gas left, so he's going to be able to go at least past lap 40. Which I'd imagine he was going to be able to make it at least 30 laps on a full tank. Probably somewhere in that 32 to 36 lap range we'll have to pit during the run. But we pit at lap 10, so probably looking anywhere between lap 42 to 46 we'll have to hit pit road. Kyle Busch back at 27th. Justin Haley still in 26th. A lot of drivers well above the comfortably above the cutoff line. Not having a good start today at Talladega. And again, that is how the season's going to shape out, knowing that we are going to have a lot of super speedway races. We've only had 2 through 9 races. We have 7 more in the last 17 races leading up to the playoffs. Not to mention we haven't raced a road course race yet on the schedule, and we have 7 of them total, but 5 in the regular season. So we only have a few more intermediate / short tracks left in the regular season. Most of the regular season schedule is going to consist of super speedways and road courses the rest of the way. Greg Biffle comes into today's race 4th in the point standings, and he's exactly 17 points out of the lead from Kevin Harvick. Saw some of the leaders pitting that last time, by the way. A lot more of the leaders onto pit road this time by. And you can see some of them cycling off of pit road that Greg Biffle will pass for position temporarily. The top 17 cars still have to hit pit road yet. So quite a bit more still have to hit pit road. Really have to hope Greg Biffle has a very clean second pit stop so that way he can finish a lap down at the end of the stage. He's going to have to take tires because I remember back in our first season not taking tires at, I think it was at Talladega, and I ended up spinning out all on my own. So we're getting older on a run. Bubba Wallace in the 23 just up to the outside. Left pressure tires, I believe that Biffle is already pitted. Biffle gets by. Wallace still running the outside. He didn't try to go to the bottom either. Top 10 still have to hit pit road. And Wallace is by himself because he's pretty far out ahead. There are some cars that are drafting up here that are just leaving pit road. Never mind, they're just pitting. I thought those guys were leaving the pits. They are pitting. I stand corrected.
We'll be pitting in about
I mean, Biffle's up to 29th. I think that 28th. Passes Stenhouse going into turns 1 and 2. That'll be another position. Kyle Larson, Ross Chastain second and third. About a second ahead. And I think they just came out of the pits, too. Either that or they're just going to pit. I thought that about the last group of cars. And they do pit this time. Okay. So Greg Biffle caught up to the leaders just before they hit pit road. So now the moment of truth is, will we get a caution? Because Greg Biffle's back on the lead lap. Drafted off Chase Elliott going into turns 1 and 2. Elliott goes to the outside in the middle of the corner. Greg Biffle going to stay down to the bottom, passing for position. Should be able to catch these other two cars coming out of the pits just up ahead. Michael McDowell and Harrison Burton gets by McDowell. Burton the outside, going into turns 3 and 4. Biffle to the bottom. Greg Biffle up to 23rd. I can feel this car's definitely gotten a lot edgier in the corners, even on my own. I couldn't imagine what it'd be like in traffic with cars behind me potentially taking the air out from underneath me. I'd probably spin out, honestly, because I had that slide when it came out of the pits. I think that's a large reason. That's why I'm getting loose, but the older tires, very troublesome trying to hold the car straight. If it feels floaty, you just kind of have to let it go a little bit. Just keep barely touching the analog stick. Just got to hope you don't make contact with anybody, and luckily there's nobody around us right now to make contact with. Chase Elliott's in 24th, but he's 2 seconds behind us nearly. Unless he could draft his way up here. Biffle should be by himself before he has to hit pit road. And he will have to pit very soon. Still caution free. Stage number 1.
Okay, we got to pit next time out.
Again, the plan for Biffle, stay out as long as you possibly can. In the hopes you get a caution. And those cars are, by the way, catching up to Biffle in the draft. Chase Elliott, Michael McDowell. They're going to have a run on Biffle. Biffle going to stay down on the bottom. Going into turns 3 and 4. Chase Elliott, Michael McDowell are right there behind the 44 car. $20 laps to go in stage 1. And ever since 3 cars of this group started to form, that's allowing the 44 Biffle to catch these next 2 cars for position ahead of him. And he is staying in front of Chase Elliott and Michael McDowell right now. And those 2 cars in front of him just split apart a little bit. Daniel Suarez, Chase Briscoe. Suarez has dropped back from the start. He qualified in the top 10. Won the Daytona 500, and if I remember correctly, I think he ended up finishing top 5 in his second Daytona race. Greg Biffle pulls the gap on Chase Briscoe. Will stay on the bottom behind Daniel Suarez in the tri-oval. Suarez going to move off the bottom just a little bit. Biffle gets underneath him. Biffle will pit this time by. He is up to 21st. Greg Biffle will pit this time. Four tires and fuel. He's got that number 1 pit box. Got to keep this 44 pinned down towards the bottom. Can't let anybody get underneath him. And into the pits he comes. Can't speed, 55 miles an hour. Perfect pit road entry. Couldn't be more perfect if you were Greg Biffle that time. And he is in for his second stop of the stage. Again, he blew a right front back at lap 10. He was able to go about 32 laps on fuel there. He didn't have a lot of drafting help for most of that run. Just bits and pieces here and there. Conor McGregor was in your hometown of Savannah, Georgia on St. Paddy's Day. That's pretty cool. Davion West, welcome into the stream. Greg Biffle definitely going to be a lap down, which I figured. Cycled through the field pretty well. He's going to have fresher tires now. So he'll run this all the way out to the end of the stage. He'll pit during the stage break. The rest of the field will likely pit early into stage 1. Biffle will still start 1 lap down. He's in 39, so he has passed somebody for position, but again, well outside of any stage points here at stage 1. The car feels a lot more grippy and a lot more comfortable now than what it did on those old tires, so thankful I made it. I only have to go 17 laps this time too, so it should be good. Because I'm able to move the analog stick more with more control of the car. I was like barely tapping it because I was scared it was going to spin out. Chase Elliott, who was behind Greg Biffle, has cycled in line right behind him. Him and Chase Briscoe. Funny how that works out. St. Paddy's Day Parade. There's a chance they catch this big pack up here. I don't think all the leaders are there, unfortunately, though. Top 3 are probably so far ahead of everybody else. So 15 laps to go at stage 1 with Biffle being a lap down. Have to go an extra lap. Assuming he can finish stage 2 on the lead lap. He'll be pitting 1 time at stage 2. Everybody else will pit twice, so the rules will be reversed. Biffle pitted twice in his first stage. As long as he stays out of trouble, it's going to be the complete opposite. Everybody else will pit twice because they're not going to pit during the stage break. I would assume they're not. And if they do, I have no unearthly clue how we're going to get our lap back without a random caution. But it is Talladega, so if we were to get a random yellow, it could be here. Just haven't seen it. We're already lapped down anyway. I stayed out. I did what I could. Mr. McCall, thanks for tuning in. When are they coming out with the next NASCAR game? I have zero clue. I don't even know if they're coming out with one this year. Nothing's been really confirmed or denied from a reliable source, I guess. I think the odds are leaning towards probably no game this year, but I don't know if that means that there isn't going to be a season expansion or season update like there was last year where it's the same game, but you know, you could get the next gen pack just with the 2023 driver lineup. I have zero clue how that will exactly look if they did that, or they might just have a new game. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. I know IndyCar's still supposed to have a game if I'm not mistaken this year. I just don't know about NASCAR. Same developers. They have the rights right now. Just about 3 seconds off that group up here. I mean, I don't even know if I try to race with those guys when I get up there. I know that we're going to be a lap down to the end of the stage anyway. I don't think it'd be a very... I mean, man, Ross Chastain was in 3rd. He's back 17. I don't think all the leaders are up there. It does not look like there's 19 cars in that pack. If that was a way to get back on the lead lap, that'd be huge for Greg Biffle. Harvick, Cody Ware losing the draft of that pack. I had to imagine it's because Cody Ware was probably holding Kevin Harvick up after he lost it. If we're going up to block the 9 of Chase Elliott, who had a run on him. Didn't want to get side by side. Because they are closing on 2 more cars. The rest of the 16 that are 17, I should say, that are ahead of Biffle are definitely not in that pack. Now, they could be within the 3 cars that are up ahead, and then there's another 2-car group ahead of them. That could be all the leaders, but I don't think that that group will catch up in time. Although they may, depending on if there's a lap car maybe holding some of them up. I mean, if you're Greg Biffle, keep digging, I guess. You never know. I guess we will have to be a little aggressive. We might be able to get our lap back. If we can get our lap back for the end of the stage, that would put us right back on par with everybody else to start stage 2 rather than hoping we could get back on par for stage 3. And that could also open up the potential possibility of stage points in stage 2. Where if we were a lap down, we're more than likely not going to get stage points if I had to guess. Let's go going to the outside. Middle of the corner. Chase was on the bottom. I should have stayed there. There's a chance, yeah, Biffle's still going to get to the inside. There's not more cars in this group. That's why Biffle's able to stay in front pretty easily, even after moving to the top like he did in the middle of the corner. Now Elliott had a run. Chase does seem to be faster than Briscoe. There's definitely cars in the top 10 that are up here battling for some stage points. By the way, Harvick and Ware were able to catch right back up to that group that got disorganized. Biffle moving off the bottom lane of the racetrack just a little bit. Back 2 there going into 3 because Chase Elliott started closing that gap again. He wants to maintain on the bottom and 9 laps to go at stage 1 at the start-finish line this time by. Like we're starting to get a little more strung apart and more single file towards the bottom in the middle of 1 and 2, and then down the back there's just like maybe 2 cars. 1 car now on the outside. Biffle so close getting in the draft. If Elliott stays in line behind Biffle, I mean, we showed that these 3 cars were fast enough to run down that group of at least 2 earlier. I had a decent car in there. Again, Swerve's won the 500, so you know he's got good equipment on the super speedways. His teammate in real life, Ross Chastain, won this very race too. Eight to go in the stage. Garrett Smithley is the car that Biffle and Elliott are closing in on. Biffle's catching the draft in the middle of turns 1 and 2. Smithley stayed on the bottom. Thought he was going to go to the outside there for a second. He did not. Biffle gets around. Chase Elliott and Chase Briscoe both going to follow 44 towards that outside lane to get by. Still 2.5 seconds behind this next pack. Yeah, they're stringing apart more. Not good for Biffle if he wants to catch him, but it doesn't really matter. It matters more for Chase Elliott and Chase Briscoe. Briscoe actually got caught behind the 15. I thought he cleared him, but I guess not. Only Elliott and Biffle got around him. Seven to go. Stage 1. I mean, Elliott has got to be hoping Biffle catches him. That gives him a shot at some stage points, because there's definitely drivers in the top 10 that are up here. About 1.7, 1.8 back. They're going to have a massive run on these guys once they catch the draft. They're a little bit too far out of the draft on the back straightaway. Chase definitely keeping pace right now with the 44. Going into turn 3. 6 to go this time by on this 2.66 mile beast of a racetrack. And there's a few cars in the pack up ahead of these guys, and then there was another like 2-car group that I think are the leaders. I had to guess, but Biffle only has 6 laps to get there. There's no way he's going to get there. He's got to get through these guys first, which isn't going to be easy. It took about 4 laps to get by a group that was about this big earlier. Biffle has a run. Went towards the outside. Decides to go back down to the bottom by the exit of the corner. Other cars moving off the bottom. Biffle swerving to the outside. Cody Ware just shot Greg Biffle into the outside wall. That'll stall the momentum out. Biffle holds on to it. Now he's blocking down to the bottom on the 44. Gives him a little bump draft. We're going back to the outside. He doesn't know where he wants to go. He's got a lot of damage on the front of his race car. Probably from doing what he did to us, to other people. Couple those passes, Kaz Grau was for position. Somebody else was for position in there too. I didn't see who it was. I just moved Greg Biffle. If that would have blown a tire, I swear that would have that would have been livid. We're already one lap down. I mean, car's okay. Yeah, the car's okay. Massive run for Greg Biffle into the tri-oval. Pull out a line. He doesn't have help, and Logano's getting the draft off of Kevin Harvick and Ross Chastain on the bottom. 4 laps to go. And these guys are even just outside the top 10.
Got 1 left. Clear.
Seemed like Logano kind of checked up a little bit. Up for Greg Biffle to clear him. AJ Allmendinger and Kyle Larson, I believe. Harvick moving away. Biffle slicing and dicing here. Speed to get by AJ. There are definitely cars in the top 10 that are just up ahead. Get a little bit of run off the banking on turn 2. Austin Dillon a lap down. I think the leaders are in that other group. Which is what I figured. And maybe there's lap traffic slowing them up enough, potentially. But the only thing you can hope for if you're Greg Biffle, but there is no way you're going to catch him in 2 laps. Big checkup off of turn 4 by this group of cars that Greg Biffle is racing around. If Austin Dillon's off the pace, like it appears he is. Be interesting for Biffle. Dillon moving to the outside. Biffle's got to get out of the gas going into turn 1. Larson and Keselowski staying down on the bottom. Biffle's got nowhere to go. And he's got to move to the bottom underneath of Austin. 2 laps to go this time by. Pass on Dillon was for 36th. Oh boy. Checked up again as they started bobbling out of line. Saw Greg Biffle get a little loose. Bump drafting Larson. Final lap. Stage 1. Larson trying to get back in the top 10. He's got a few drivers for position right in front of him. They're going to try to hang Truex out to the outside. Biffle's going to have a massive run here off of turn 2. He's just going to stay to the outside. He went there. Well, no, there's there's room to get back there. Keselowski and Larson kind of lost these guys just a little bit. Man, they checked out big time off turn 4. Biffle even cracked the throttle a little bit. Still clears him. So he caught and passed the 8th place car, but not going to get all the way up to the leaders. Oh my gosh, I had no control of my car there. What the heck? Alright, well, stage came to an end. They didn't even wait for the top 10 to cross the start-finish line. They just waited for the top 6 to cross it and said, screw it. That's the end of the stage. Alright, well, Christopher Bell wins stage 1. Kurt Busch ends up 2nd. Chris Buescher 3rd. Alex Bowman 4th. William Byron 5th. Tyler Reddick 6th. Ryan Blaney 7th. Martin Truex Jr. 8th. Eric Jones 9th. And Brad Keselowski will round out the top 10 in stage 1 today at Talladega. So, see how many playoff points that is for Christopher Bell now. Of course, he won the last race, and this is the 2nd stage win of the year for Bell, so that's going to give him 7 playoff points on the season so far. So, picking up where he left off. Had a win in the last race, and now he gets a stage win in the next race. And win again came at Dover. Just over 30 people watching. Appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. Greg Biffle got a pit during the stage break here. And we'll kind of go from there. Looks like 4 tires and fuel. No adjustments on the race car. And then we'll start stage numero dos. I like how it shows that it gave us damage after we hit the wall when I had no control of my car after the stage came to an end. Look at that. It's not going to affect the speed because we've been in this situation before. It doesn't affect the speed, luckily, because it didn't happen under green. At least it does that. Could you imagine if it actually affected the speed? It does make the car look hideous, though. Gives me chills. So 60 laps is stage 2, and then the final stage is going to end up being 68 laps. Everybody will pit twice in this stage. So Biffle going to have to be maybe a little patient here. He's going to have fresher tires. He's a lap down. Austin Dillon just looking like he may lose the draft again. But they will have to pit at some point in time here. And if you're Greg Biffle, you just got to be very, very patient. Bump draft on Kaz Gralla, but they're going to end up pitting twice in the stage. You're going to pit once. It's not worth trying to pass everybody right now. Oh, well, Phil swoop. Pack starts to string apart a little bit. He'll probably feel a tad bit more confident trying to make some passes. But see, like this, like Ricky Stenhouse moving all the way up. You don't know how high up he's going to move. So if you're Greg Biffle, you just kind of have to let him go. That's not Stenhouse, my bad. That's Corey LaJoy. Looked like the 47. Stenhouse is behind us. I didn't see we passed him already. I didn't think he was one of the cars we got around. Cracking the brakes a little bit going into the corner. Slight bump draft on Timmy Hill again. A lot of cars checking up off turn 4. I'm scared to be on the inside line, honestly, behind these cars. I'm very, very scared because they're going to all pit and they're going to jam on the brakes all at once when they go to do it. We also got to hope that they get through pit stops cleanly. There's no caution because then we're just going to still be trapped a lap down. This is sketchy, but Biffle's trying to make some moves in that third lane up on the outside. Passes a couple cars. He gets into Gilliland. Gilliland sideways. I think he's going to hang on to it. Oh, my goodness. What a save by Todd Gilliland in the 38 car. They checked up off of turn 2. They were kind of doing that towards the end of the last stage as well. I think they just do that on older tires. When will those cars on the bottom pit? Biffle bounced off the wall for the second time today, but that time, luckily, he didn't blow a right front tire. Watch that checkup off turn 2. Not going to be able to get by Kyle Busch with it. Yeah, they're checking up a lot. I'm on the brakes off of turn 2. We were going 170 miles per hour. Because I was on the brakes off the exit of turn 2 trying to make sure I didn't run into anybody. Ridiculous. Then by the end of the straightaway, we're right back up to mid-180s. We're just staying high, waiting for cars to pit. Checking up off turn 4 too. Run down on the bottom for Greg Biffle. Gets underneath the 11 of Denny Hamlin. Backing way off. Knowing that they'll check up. They didn't really check up that much that time. Better safe than sorry. There's nowhere to go through this. Biffle backing way out of the gas again, trying to give himself some space just in case they pit. And they do not pit that time either. I'm 64. I mean, we've got any lap, they're going to come down into the pits. Biffle is going for broke. It's Cody Ware who's stacking up the outside. Should have guessed. Wow. I mean, Biffle just passed 4 cars in that third lane up on the outside. Luckily, Harrison Burton didn't check up that time. He's kind of riding the brakes a little bit. Now Harrison Burton's not really getting going. Down to the bottom, just in front of Cody Ware. Gonna get by Harrison Burton here. Oh, that was not a great idea. He's going to try to split the middle. Made slight contact with J.J. Yaley. Somebody else just about got put 3 wide. Couldn't tell who that was. Biffle down on the bottom underneath Denny Hamlin. I don't know how Hamlin got through all that either. Did he follow me on that 3rd lane? I didn't think I had any drafting help. Maybe I did. We're going up the track just a little bit off turn 2. Turns back down to the bottom to block the 51. And back to the top right in front of J.J. Yaley. AJ Allmendinger all by himself on the bottom. Big run down to the bottom. Nobody blocks Greg Biffle. Oh my gosh. They all just kind of stayed to the outside, all 4 of them. Biffle gets by them all. Now he's got a gap on the cars in front of him. Biffle up to 31st. So there were quite a few cars that were actually lapped down at the end of stage 1. 10 of them. 1 car did pit already. Must have been at the tail end of that 2nd group because Biffle wasn't in the lead pack. 1 car very slow. On the bottom of turns 1 and 2. I'm not sure who that is. Biffle's closing in pretty tightly on him. It's William Byron. Austin Dillon coming out of the pits. Did he run out of gas? I wonder if Byron ran out of fuel. I mean, they're pushing it. Hopefully it doesn't bring out a caution. Biffle needs this cycle all the way through. And he's right with the leaders, too. He might be pretty close to the front of the field, honestly. Massive run off turn 4. And there are some cars pitting. And Greg Biffle barely sneaking his way through. Drone Shots, thanks for tuning in. Oh my gosh, this has been... It's been sketchy since the restart, all 9 laps. The darty moves I'm making with the car, though, I have to be burning the tires, rear tires off again. I'm splitting the stage in half. We're pitting right at lap 30. I know I can go 30 laps, so I'm going to pit right at lap 30. 4 tires and fuel. Everybody else is going to have to pit one more time after this. We just got to see if Greg Biffle's going to be all the way up there with the leaders. 2 more of the lead cars pitting. Kyle Larson out in front for now. Here comes a run for Biffle to the outside. Larson up to block. Oh boy, Biffle lifted a little bit. That broke his momentum. He's going to get to the outside of Larson, but he's more than likely not going to clear him. And he will clear him, actually, going into turn 1. Greg Biffle has just unlapped himself. We've got some cars coming out of the pits on the racetrack right now. Gonna get around to the outside. Some of them will be for position, some of them will not. We're still trying to get up to speed, so Biffle will get by Garrett Smithley, Todd Gilliland. There's a lot more cars that are still on pit road as we speak. Curious to see where everybody cycles out. Pit on lap 33. No, I'm not going to stretch it that far. I'm just going to pit halfway. Because I'm pitting during the stage break. I just don't trust the tires because I feel like I was wearing them out trying to get through the pack. We run on Allmendinger on the back straightaway. He's by himself. Biffle passes him for 24th. And I'm not sure if everybody has cycled off of pit road or not. And Biffle's gained some positions. Kind of a ways off the leaders yet, though. No, yeah, we'll get a few more. 4 cars yet. No cautions for incident, just that stage 1 break so far today. Still getting very spaced apart following green flag pit stops again. Biffle should be able to pass these next 2 cars coming out of the pits. Chase Elliott and Kurt Busch. Yep, Kurt Busch. Biffle's been drafting with Chase for a large portion of today's race. Really going up trying to side draft Biffle. Biffle going to get by him though for 20th going into turn 3 anyway. And this pack of about 5 cars that are single file on the outside are catching a slow car off turn 4. And how will they navigate their way around him? Biffle seemingly close enough to get the draft off of him now. They got slowed up by that car. I think it might be Josh Berlicki in the 77. More cars still coming out of the pits yet. Massive run for Biffle down to the inside. Berlicki's just slowing everybody up. Nobody went to the bottom to pass him. Biffle went to the bottom to pass a lot of cars. He has cycled himself inside the top 10. Berlicki's actually on the lead lap in the 77. Not sure if he is pitted or not yet, but... Alright, I mean, Greg Biffle's got a shot at stage points here. Drafted off Kevin Harvick, who just came out of the pits. We'll get in front of him. That'll move Biffle to P6.
All clear.
As long as Berlicki leads that pack, I don't think they're going to close in on me. We got one more car leaving pit road yet. 2 more. Christopher Bell won stage 1. I think he'll probably be up there with the leaders. And I think Eric Jones in the 43. Where he cycled ahead, Eric Almirola. And here's Kyle Larson coming out of the pits. So Greg Biffle in the 44. Assuming he can get up to Kyle Larson, he'll be in 3rd. I don't know if he's going to catch him or not. There is a slower car, a lap car. Or no. Let me think here. Larson 4th. Bell, Jones, and then there was one other car up there. So that was actually, whoever that other car is the leader. Larson just getting up to speed off turn 4 with Biffle in the draft, and he's going to have a big run trying to close that gap. Dives to the bottom in the tri-oval. He will clear Kyle Larson. Biffle is up to 4th, and now there's a car coming out of the pits on the bottom. That might be the leader. And Truex, I believe, is the 30th place car who was that lone car up ahead, so he had a slow stop. Something happened to him. He lost a lot of time. Chastain may be the leader on the outside. Jones may be slowing up Christopher Bell. I don't think he's as fast. Bell pulling out a line down to the bottom. Biffle going to try to get them both. And he does on the back straightaway, moving him up to P2. And Ross Chastain in the 1 is the race leader. He's still trying to get up to speed. Biffle on the shortest way around in turns 3 and 4. Everybody still has to pit one more time yet in this final stage, but Greg Biffle has rallied from a lap down at the end of stage 1. He's getting a draft off Chastain, who will lead that lap at the line. Chastain, early block. Biffle stayed in the gas, tried to draft off of him as much as he could. Chastain went back to the top into turn 1. Biffle stayed low, and Greg Biffle leads at Talladega. Assuming he leads at the start-finish line this time by, it'll be his first lap lead of the day. I told you guys it wasn't over yet. Now, the final stage is going to be weird, because I don't think we're going to be able to make it at one stop, so everybody's got to pit twice anyway. We just need to get this lap back in this stage to get back on the same strategy. We did. And now, hopefully, we have a shot to win the stage. That'd be huge if we could do that. Everybody should have to pit one more time. Well, everybody will have to pit. They're definitely not going to make it over 40 laps on fuel, so... Go. Greg Biffle getting the draft off of Mark Church Jr. The 19 is going to go a lap down. He's pretty high up in the regular season point standings. Has a win. He's locked into the playoffs already. Biffle gets by him. Stay down towards the bottom. Curious to know if they may be able to draft up to Biffle as Biffle's tires wear out over the course of the run. That's what I'm kind of curious about next. Yeah, there's a larger pack of cars that is closing in on that top 3, it appears. Well, I should say the 2nd through 4th place cars. So there's more than likely faster cars that are now leading that group. They'll probably catch Greg Biffle. Especially because I think the 19's fast, just not by himself. I would like to think Truex has a fast car. I think Jones is holding Bell up. I mean, Bell and Truex are teammates. Bell won stage 1, so I'd imagine those drivers have some speed. Jones might be in that pack. Chastain is not. He's 3.5, about 4 seconds actually behind Biffle. I think we were going to see a strategy race at Talladega today, but stage 2 has turned into some strategy. That's a single file line too. So if they have a fast car up there, they're definitely going to run us down. Without a doubt. Staying 6 seconds off of the race lead. Bell is up to 3rd again, so he is definitely leading that pack. They're catching Ross Chastain. Once they get up to speed, I think the 1 and the 20 will lead that single file group, and they will catch Greg Biffle before Biffle pits. Biffle's only got to go about 10 more laps before he pits. The bad part is they're going to be so fast, if Biffle doesn't cycle back into that group when he leaves pit road, that is where the trouble's going to lie for this 44 team. But look at how fast they are, because 6.1 seconds off the lead. I guess they're catching Truex right now, so they'll still be about 6 seconds back. Again, Truex is a faster race car. They get organized here. Look out if you're Greg Biffle. It'd be sketchy leading something like that with no rearview mirror, too. I don't feel comfortable leading the train. And not in this game. Seven seconds back. Oh yeah, they're closing that gap quick, guys. It went from 7 seconds to 6.3. Right in the middle of the corner. Actually, I don't know how accurate that... Okay, now it's going back to 7 again. I don't know how accurate that interval time is. It is what it is. Have to wait this out. In the middle of the corners, the interval drops way down, and then down the straightaways it picks it right back up again. Oh, they don't have as many cars in that group as they did before. They've kind of split into 2 groups of their own. And they passed Chastain, by the way, too. I think Chastain got hung out to dry. And that group caught up, because now Christopher Bell and Eric Jones are the 2 leaders. Well, Truex technically leads that group, but position-wise, it's Bell and Jones.
Only a few laps till we pit. Only a few laps till we pit. Only a few laps till we pit.
How many times do you have to say that in a row? 3? I'm looking at pitting at lap 30. If the car feels good enough, I'll go to 31. There's no real need to try to push it. My personal opinion. It's like Joey Logano all by himself. He's about 6 seconds ahead of us. He'll be in 29th. Just gotta hope that Biffle's got a fast pit stop to cycle right back into the front, because they're not gonna lead until, or sorry, they're not gonna pit until way later in the stage. I mean, it's probably gonna be a little less than 10 to go by the time everybody has left pit road. Biffle's just got to get down onto pit road. And he's also got to hope it stays green all the way through, because if we get a caution, he could end up with a scoring glitch and lose all that track position and time right back again. I don't think I've ever won a race on this game without stability help on. This may be the first. But we still have a long ways to go. I mean, we know the field's going to get bunched together one more time with a stage break, and it's been sketchy on the start and the restart of the stage and the race, so we got to make it through that. We're going to pit, too, during the stage break, so we're going to end up at the tail end of it again. Everybody's going to have to pit twice, so we're going to end up being in the back of traffic when that all starts. Try not to lose the leaders too much. I mean, there's a chance I can make it a one stop, but it'd be really pushing it. That's where we could have a fuel mileage race here at Talladega in the final stage. And I'll try to go all the way, but there's no guarantee I'm going to make it. Still no cautions for incident. We're almost exactly halfway home. That pack has caught up. Not by as much as I thought they would, but they definitely have caught up because they're down under 5 seconds off the lead. It was about 7.5. We went towards the outside trying to get a draft off Logano. It'll go right back down to the bottom. Now we'll go back to the top in the center of the corners. He catches the 22. And off the exit of turn 4. To the inside he goes. And Joey Logano in the 22 going to go a lap down. He's had a rough start to the year. He's outside the top 20 in points right now. After 9 races, he is not having a good day today. I don't think he had stage points in stage 1 either. He is in danger. If he doesn't get a win, that he could miss the playoffs. Could you imagine that? He won the series championship in real life last year. In 2022. And in the 2022 NASCAR game, he might miss the playoffs. Stu Isaac, thanks for tuning in. This is on my PS4. I'd like to think Logano's fast enough to lead that group. I mean, if Truex is back at 30th, Logano should have speed. And they're less than 4 seconds back now. I think Greg Biffle is going to be okay. Honestly, even if they catch me, I'm not even going to risk blocking. I'm just going to stay low. They can train around me. Because we're going to have to be on the bottom when we pit soon anyway. And I don't think they're at a fast enough pace to catch me. That was 2.5 seconds back. Truex is only 3 seconds off of us. They'll probably slow up immediately when they catch Logano, and then they'll have to build that momentum back up again. Which may be the case unless they all just get around him quickly to the bottom. Then if they start running the bottom, I feel like they're going to gain even more time quicker. Alright, so Logano going to stay in front of that group right now. And them closing in is also good in the sense that, again, everybody has to pit for the end of the stage. We don't even know that Biffle will cycle back to the lead again. He will be the first into the pits here soon.
Got about 5 laps of fuel left. Got about 5 laps of fuel left.
They are coming. They are less than 3 seconds behind Greg Biffle. They're not catching me as fast as they probably would in real life, but they are definitely catching me. That's crazy, though. We got out this far ahead, and then they got single file, and now they're going to start running us down. When they were in a pack and they were too wide, they weren't catching us, but they're in a pack single file, I can't pull away. And they're way faster than me, so. It is kind of weird how that works in this game. We got it. Yeah, I've always had PlayStations growing up. PS2, PS3, PSP even. Just PS4. Still haven't gotten a PS5 yet.
Got about 5 laps of fuel left.
I don't think Logano's as fast as Truex and Bell who were leading that group, because it was still about 2.8 seconds back. Or ahead, I should say. Corey LaJoie, Ty Dillon, 2 cars that Greg Biffle's closing in on. Drafting together on the outside right now. We'll be 30 laps into this stage. Biffle's going to stay out. I'm going to stay out, see how far exactly I can push it on fuel, so that way when the final stage comes around, I know how far I could go. I was only able to go 31 laps earlier.
We'll be pitting in about 5 laps.
But here to start stage 2, I've already gone 31. Remember, technically we'll have to run an extra lap this stage also because Greg Biffle was a lap down to start the stage. Logano 2 seconds back. They were about a second quicker, really, that last lap, because they were 3 seconds back, 2.9 off turn 2 last time. Now they're 2.1 back. Not quite close enough to get a draft off of Greg Biffle. Biffle, if he can catch Corey LaJoie, Ty Dillon, I think the rest of that group, if they don't get around then, they're going to end up being slowed down by him because they're definitely not going to be quick enough to lead that train like Logano and Truex, who they caught. Because Ty Dillon and Corey LaJoie are already 1 lap down. They're actually in danger of going a 2nd lap down here. Greg Biffle to the inside at the start-finish line. Ooh, man, they actually tried to move down. Side draft to Biffle a little bit. Biffle will be clear. We'll stretch that gap right back out again just a little bit. Once he caught the draft of LaJoie and Dillon, who are about a half a second behind him. We gotta get Yank 6 for tuning in. Yeah, I've heard great things about it. Both the new consoles, really. They aren't even really new anymore, technically, but you guys, the next gen consoles, there we go. I think Ryan Blaney DNF'd. I've noticed every time we go past the tri-oval, shows him in 40th. I think he's the only driver actually out of the race today, so something happened to Ryan Blaney during the green flag pit stops that started this stage. Logano is getting a big draft now off of Corey LaJoie and Ty Dillon. We are 33 laps into this stage. Greg Biffle in this 34 car. It looks as if he is going to have to pit this time by. I wouldn't even risk going another lap, so it's going to be tight on fuel if we try to go 34 or 34 to the end of the race. I don't know if it's possible, to be quite honest. Biffle will pit, though, from the lead this time. He's had perfect pit road entries both times today. Oh, boy. Got a little squirrely coming in that time, but he held on to it. 4 tires and fuel, no adjustments. And he'll be the first onto pit road for their final stop of stage 2. Oh my gosh. My wrist be crack-a-lacking. Here's from working out like 2 hours before I stream too. Just sitting in the same position while I'm resting my hands on my leg with the controller. It's not carpal tunnel, it's alright. One car closing in that Greg Biffle had to be on alert for. That was Kaz Growell in the 50. He's got a lot of clearance. We should get up to speed before Ty Dillon, Corey LaJoy. That big group starts to close in again. There they are. There's the leaders. They're about 9 seconds behind where Greg Biffle is at. I don't think those two cars are even fast enough to lead up where Biffle's at on the track. So Greg Biffle cycled pretty well. He's still on the lead lap in 28th. And there are 30 cars technically in the lead lap with Logano and Truex at the tail end of it. And we will have about 26 laps to go yet in this stage at the start-finish line. There's Kaz Grala in the 50. He is already 1 lap down. So that is not a position that Biffle just got right there. So Greg Biffle trying to win stage 2 after Christopher Bell won stage 1. Bell is now the race leader once again. But everybody else is going to have to pit one more time yet before the end of this stage. So the question is now, can Biffle cycle back to the lead? He doesn't have any drafting help currently. And if they start to increase the gap on where Biffle's running right now, that is going to hurt him leading into the pit stops. We'll have to keep an eye on that interval as we get closer to the end of the stage, knowing that that is the case. And that's pretty much what we're racing here. We will alternate through the different camera angles one more time in today's race. And we were by ourselves before, but there was like a pack closing in on us that was a lot closer, kept it somewhat interested. There's absolutely no one near us now. We have fresher tires. It does feel like we are closing in on those other cars like Timmy Hill, JJ Yaley at the tail end of this second group all the way up here. Definitely conga line up on the outside again, up the front a little bit. The interval times are flopping around so much you can't really tell exactly how far behind us that lead pack is. Chastain is... It looked like Ross Chastain's actually the race leader and not Christopher Bell. So somehow Ross Chastain cycled towards the front of that group. I know he was leading initially when the pit stop cycled through. Biffle got around him in the lap after he was getting up to speed. So he was by himself. Biffle seemed to have a little bit quicker single car speed than the one. Chastain's definitely leading. I think I saw Bell in second. So somehow Ross Chastain's gotten right back towards the front of this pack. About 22 laps to go yet in Stage 2. We are a little bit past the halfway mark in today's Geico 500 at Talladega on NASCAR 22. And again, we are caution-free outside of the Stage 1 break so far. So no accidents to be recorded. We had 2 cautions for incident in the Daytona 500. 50% race, I think we had a few of them as well. So honestly, if we don't get more than 1 caution for incident in the final stage, then we'll end up having even less yellows. I wish it would show race stats like it does in our NASCAR EA Sports live streams at the end of the race and go through the race statistics, see what the average speed is. Because we might... Well, no, we wouldn't have a chance for the fastest race. Never mind. There was a couple caution-free Talladega races, so we wouldn't catch it. Because we still had stage breaks, so... Yeah, there'd be no chance. Never mind. Forget I was talking. Just act like I don't even exist. It definitely seems as if Greg Biffle's closing in on the tail end of the second group. We're going to have to pull out a line trying to make some passes on those guys because they're going to be running that slow compared to the leaders. We're going to lose time and potentially not cycle back to the lead, leaving the pits. Then if I can pass them, that'd be great too before they have to hit pit road. They might end up hitting before I even get to him anyway. There's a very good chance actually that would be the case. Just have to wait and see. Down to 18 laps to go this time by. In stage number 2. Got 1 car coming into the pits. Got our first taker. 1 car all by themselves. That'll move Biffle to 27th. Not winning either of those 2 Daytona races that Greg Biffle had a fast car in. He can capitalize here today at Talladega. That'd be huge to get a super speedway win, especially knowing we have a lot of super speedways left on the schedule. He showed in that second Daytona race he was able to get some stage points. Now, granted, that was a 50% race, but it'd be nice confidence boost in a 100% race if we could do it. Even with finishing 36th in stage 1, a lap down, we were able to get our lap back and get right back on the same strategy as the leaders once we get into the final stage. I mean, it'll be the same in the sense that we'll probably have to pit twice with them, but at least, I mean, it'll be a little varied, obviously, because we're going to be able to go a lot deeper into the run than they are once that final stage begins, because we'll pit during the stage break. They will not. Maybe we can outsmart them and lamp the pit once. But it is definitely going to come down to green flag pit stops. And if we don't win this stage when everything cycles through, this could be the same predicament in the final stage too. So we're just going to have to get after it right from the get-go and try to get as much time back as we can. Saw at least 1 more car pitting that time. There's been a few cars on the lead lap ahead of Greg Biffle that have pitted, but not everybody because he's still up to only 24th. He's gained 4 positions since he made his green flag stop back at lap 33 in the stage. Lap 32 technically in the stage. So he's a lap down. Chastain leads Eric Jones up to 2nd. Now Christopher Bell back at 3rd. I'm not sure if he had pitted What the case is there, but Bell no longer in the top 2. 2 more cars down on the bottom. They will pit off of turn 4. We got some other cars already on pit. One car's in the grass driving backwards in the tri-oval. We're too far away from pit road to tell who that was. Somebody's gone rogue. Talladega. Wouldn't be the first time that's happened. We've had somebody steal the pace car here. We've had a guy named LW Wright. Basically the con man racing. 78 car trying to get up to speed. Biffle split in the middle, 3 wide. He just motivated his way past that whole group of cars. There are a lot of them on the lead lap that still have to pit. I think Stenhouse is just slowing him up so much on that outside lane, honestly. One thing I can think of. Curious to know exactly how many cars will be on the lead lap at the end of this stage. As if all those cars Biffle just passed is going to be behind him. That will be interesting. Communist Lego, 6 for tuning in. Extreme realism. Yeah, we just passed a whole pack of cars. This Stenhouse just so slow. The packs are fast if they're led by faster cars. Like faster teams. And GTG Doherty Racing, even though Stenhouse won the Daytona 500 in real life, and you would think that Super Speedway, everybody would be more equal. It's not really the case here, for whatever reason. It's neither here nor there. We'll take that advantage that we can. Even though we're in a New York racing Chevy, and it's not the case with us. I think it has more of an effect in the career mode, though. I think. Although I've never really tried it on a funded team in the career mode. The only time I tried the career mode in this game, it reset on me after 34 of 30. We literally were going into the second race of the round of 8, and the game crashed on me and reset my career mode back to like Coda at the beginning of the season. I was like, are you kidding me? That whole season? And there was no way to get it back. And the game automatically saves. That's what doesn't make any sense. Like the game there's no way to like go to any sort of setting input and like save it just in case it doesn't automatically save. Like there's no way to do that. It just saves it for whatever reason. It not only didn't save the Texas race, but it pushed me all the way back to Coda for some reason. Like obviously I didn't run like 20 plus races in one day. Consider we were doing full races the whole season. I don't know. That didn't make any sense. I'm like, I ran that race like a month ago. Like, why is it putting me back to that now? It was weird. Phil McCracken, thanks for tuning in. Create a driver for a season instead of using a real driver. I think it's a good suggestion. I'll probably do that down the line. I think that'd be kind of cool. Well, see, the thing is, I actually do a career mode on the newer NASCAR games. It's just with this being the same game as, I mean, with this being NASCAR 21 Ignition, just with the season expansion, I didn't really want to do too much with this game other than these 2 seasons, and then that's it. So that's why I didn't want to do a career mode. And I don't do them on the older games just because the classic game playthrough, I just want to get the seasons I'm doing done and then move on to the next one. But yeah, if we get a new NASCAR game this season, I'll end up running a career mode, and that'll pretty much be the creator driver season, or it'll be multiple seasons. But however long it takes me to win a championship, usually takes a few years. Usually. Greg Biffle cycled up to 7th. Massive run on that 3-car group getting into the tri-oval. Led by BJ McLeod. Greg Biffle up to 5th place. And we are down to 11 laps to go still in stage 2. So plenty of time for the top 4 to have to pit. And Greg Biffle will cycle back around, more than likely to the race lead. I used a controller. I used a wheel back in the NASCAR Heat Series, but I don't trust the wheel with this game, honestly. So I haven't used it with NASCAR 21 Ignition. It broke towards the end of the line. The one I had, the upshift, the paddle shifters, the upshift would stick on me. So it wasn't, or actually I think it was the downshift that was sticking on me. Like I would literally be on an oval, and it would drop from like 4th to 3rd randomly on the straightaway or something. Like I couldn't use it anymore for that reason. I just never got a new one. But I definitely wouldn't have even wanted to test it with this game, to be completely honest. I feel like I'd wreck even more. Waiting on the race leader to hit pit road. And then Greg Biffle will be right back in the race lead. Sorry for questions. Oh, no, you're good, man. Ask away. That's what the chat's for. Short tracks and road courses is a little hard for me to try to read all your guys' comments, but I usually try to get to them as best as I can. I don't like pausing the game with doing the full races. I don't like prolonging it any longer than, I mean, we have a 500-mile race here tonight. I was expecting this stream to get done between 8:30 and 9 o'clock after starting it at 6, so I don't want to extend that any longer than we have to. Try to get the full thing in. Greg Biffle back to the race lead at the start-finish line that last time by. This is back on Stenhouse, Bubba Wallace, Harrison Burton trying to put these cars a lap down. Alex Bowman in the 48 coming out of the pits down on the bottom of the racetrack. He'll go a lap down. Biffle slides up in front of the 21. So there are only 16 cars on the lead lap. Reddick is stuck behind some slower cars that are already one lap down. One slower car that is one lap down. That would be Austin Cindric, Penske in the 2. So there are not going to be too many drivers on the lead lap when we start stage 3, the way things are looking right now. Not even sure if all the lap cars have pitted that have potentially cycled into the top 15. They may have. Maybe not. If they haven't, they definitely will have to before the end of this stage. And Reddick is going to have to try to pull out a line at some point on Austin Cindric, or he's going to go lap down. They're even catching this next car just up ahead as well. And there goes Reddick. Now he'll pull out a line. Don't think he had enough momentum to try to make the pass. Here comes Biffle down to the bottom. He'll get by Reddick. Chris Buescher, the 17, is who they're catching. So Tyler Reddick going to go lap down in the 8. Just above the cutoff line coming into the race. In fact, he's the last driver above the cutoff line right now. 9 points to the good coming into the day, but not looking at any stage points more than likely here in stage 2. A third of a tank of gas left for Greg Biffle and just 7 laps to go in stage 2. Field will be bunched back together when we start the final stage. And Greg Biffle will have to pit. That'll put himself at the tail end of the field. Position-wise, it looks like he'll be in 15th, but for whatever reason, it still restarts us at the tail end of the field. Chase Elliott, last car in the lead lap right now in 15th place. He's at least 8 seconds ahead of Greg Biffle. As long as he's not behind an extremely slow car, I don't think Biffle will catch him before the end of the stage. Honestly, passing all these cars to the pack, I feel like Bill Elliott in 1988. Was it 88 or 87? I think it was 88. No, it was 87. Or was it 86? Now I'm starting to really like second and third guess myself. What year was it where Elliott came from like 2 laps down to win? We were 1 lap down. Granted, it was with pit stops, so we came back, but thank you, stage breaks. If it wasn't for the stages, we probably, we got back up to 36. We probably would have, considered how many cars are lap down now, I'm sure we could have still gotten like a top 15 finish out of it. Would have had no chance at the win. No way. I should know what year that is, too. I remember I knew at one point in time what year it was. It was 85. Yeah, I was off. I was off the whole time. Jeez. Need to start doing some restudying on some old NASCAR stuff. I should have known that. Feel bad for myself that I got it wrong, honestly. Makes me look like an idiot. It look like I don't even know what I'm talking about. Like, oh, this guy calls himself a NASCAR fan. And 3:04 to go this time by. Keep forgetting the lap down. We're gonna make sure I don't lift when we hit 60 of 60 at the line, because I know this game and its tricks. Alright, we played it enough. There was somebody, I don't even know if they're watching or not right now, but I'm sure you know who you are, but somebody that I work with, actually, he found out I had this channel. He found out it was me after some amount of time of, like, wondering, like, oh, this guy kind of looks like him, and then whatever. I've told that story before on the channel, but it's kind of a cool story. But anyway, like, he knew I did this without me, like, telling him. And when he first started talking about it, he was like, dude, I think you've played more NASCAR 21 Ignition than, like, literally anybody else in this country. He's like, no, I really mean that. Like, probably, considering it's the full race, and that's the only reason I probably have played this game more and know all the nooks and crannies with a lot of these glitches in this game. It's just because I do 100% races. I've done 100% race at every track in this game multiple times now. Not necessarily on the NASCAR 22 side of things, but NASCAR 21 into 22 I have. Oh my gosh. We're good. We're good. I clipped the apron somehow and I just sucked the car sideways. You know, Chase was by himself. We still weren't going to catch him. We're good. We're going to be pitting during the stage break, so even though I burnt the tires off the car, we're going to be okay. Reddick's still 3 seconds behind us. He's still not going to get his lap back. There's going to be pretty much no chance that Greg Biffle was going to beat Chase Elliott. What am I doing? Get away from that apron. I hadn't done that all day. 118 laps in, I finally do it. When you run by yourself on a track that's full throttle like this and as big as it is, you're just wide open. After some amount of time, you're going to start to lose a little bit of that competitive edge, I would have to imagine. We're going to have to get right back into it, though. We're going to have to be perfect when we start the final stage, because we're going to have to get that track position back. Everybody's going to have to pit twice. I know the leaders like to pull away at the start. If they all go to the train game on the outside and we're stuck behind slower cars, we will never catch them if there's a faster car leading that group, which faster cars will be restarted at the front. And we will have fresher tires when we start the stage, so that'll be a little bit of an equalizer. But it will be interesting to see how this is going to go. Final stage will be a new animal for sure. So one more lap to go at stage 2 when we get to the start-finish line here. We'll have one more lap. And then we'll have 68 laps in the final stage. And Greg Biffle in the 44. After finishing 36th, the lap down at stage 1, will make that lap up in one stage and still get not only some stage points, but a stage win. He'll now have a playoff point. He was 17 points out of the regular season standings lead from Kevin Harvick. So that gap will close. Because I don't think Harvick had stage points in stage 1. I do know Larson did. He was ahead of us in points by 4, I believe. So we'll kind of even the odds a little bit with him. Curious to see how many stage points he'll get in stage 2 also. There we go. Greg Biffle will win stage 2 at Talladega. So, there you go. Kevin Harvick, who did not get stage points in stage 1, as I mentioned, he does get stage points in stage 2, finishes 2nd. Eric Jones ends up 3rd. Christopher Bell, who won stage 1, finishes 4th. He'll end up with the most stage points today with 17. Daniel Suarez will finish with 6 points in the stage as he finishes 5th, and then Denny Hamlin will finish 6th in the stage with 5 points. Ross Chastain ends up 4th, Kyle Larson 3rd, Kurt Busch in 9th, and Justin Haley 10th. I think Larson was just outside the top 10 then. I thought he had gotten into the top 10 at the end of stage 1. I guess not, because it's only showing he has 3 points. So there we go. And, yeah, so it looks like I only gained 1 point on Harvick. I'm still 16 points behind him. So never mind. Wait, I thought you were in the stream earlier. Oh, you were? I was thinking you were here already. Well, thanks for tuning in. Once again, 61 of 60. Yeah, it's because I was lapped down and made up the lap. But like I said, I knew that was coming. I was prepared for it. I was unprepared before in a race that I can't remember, but I remember like getting out of the gas and then like wrecking. Like, what? That wasn't the end of the stage. I also remember infamously Atlanta on the last season where I was like, I didn't know how many laps down I was, and I knew I made up a couple laps, and I ran what I thought was the last lap, like 4 laps in a row, and I was trying to hold on to my lap because the leaders were behind me. Atlanta's a super speedway now, so I was like blocking for my life on the leaders on older tires for like 4 laps, thinking every lap I crossed the line was the last lap. I'm like, that's not the last lap. And then they get a run on me and have to side draft. I pull back to the line. I barely beat him to the line. That wasn't it either, and I had to keep going around. That was the most anxiety I think I've ever had playing this game, and it was during a stage. It wasn't even for the win, because he didn't know what the last lap was. Crowd's cheering randomly. Big fan of Greg Biffle winning stage 2, I guess. Yeah, 4 tires of fuel. Like how we were sitting backwards after the fact. Yeah, I heard about that, Michael. Get well soon. Remember you saying something about that last weekend, I thought. Alright, well. Ooh! Kevin Harvick pits with Greg Biffle. Interesting. Green flag back in the air. So Harvick and Biffle both hit pit road during the stage break. Nobody else did. They finished 1st and 2nd at stage 2. So Harvick and Biffle going to be on the same strategy. Everybody else is not. Everybody should have to pit twice still. But this is going to get interesting. And they're immediately trying to get to the outside. There's a lot more cars on the top than the bottom. Big stack up going into turn 1 there. Biffle way out of the gas. He has to give that spot up. He passed below the double yellow line. What was that? They about stopped going into the corner, but Biffle now might be in danger of losing the draft. And that's why I don't want to be on a train on the outside with him, even though it's going to help me save the most fuel. I mean, there's a chance we can make this. I'd hate to make it on only 2 stops and Harvick makes it on 1. Because Harvick pitted during the stage break. He may be in the best position to win this race if he can make it on 1. We might have to stretch this out as far as we can. There's no way we're going to be able to go 34 laps. No way. And we'd have to do it twice, too. I went 33 at the furthest. I'd have to save fuel enough to run twice. Only like 4 or 5 cars left on that bottom. This is not good for Biffle. He is losing this draft. At a second behind. More cars pulling up into that outside lane. Man, if they just run double wide a little bit, they're starting to scatter a tad in the tri-oval. Now they're really breaking out of line at the back of this pack. That will help Biffle out a little bit. Yeah, that helped him out. It looked like Balicki pulled back into the outside after pulling in the bottom in the middle of the corner, and look at Greg Biffle passing cars on the inside. Truex pulls out. That's going to give him a little extra drafting help once he got side by side with Logano. And there is definitely some slower cars that are leading this group right now. Biffle just squeezing on the double yellow line, 3 wide to get by his teammate, Eric Almirola. Biffle gonna slide up. Well, he's passed Harvick. It's the only lead lap car he has passed since the start of stage 3. And it's Josh Bilicki, who I saw pull in line a little earlier. And he is 4th position. He's still in the lead lap. Congrats to him. He'll get a top 15 finish if he holds on to it. Not at that pace he's going to, though. This group definitely has some faster cars up there. Unless they get disorganized, there's no chance Biffle's going to catch him. So we have an interesting strategy race here in this final stage. So Kevin Harvick, Greg Biffle were the only 2 cars that pitted at the end of stage 2. They're both on the lead lap. They finished 1st and 2nd, in fact, in stage 2. So the other 13 cars that were racing right now in the lead lap, they all stayed out. They will have to pit twice no matter what. There's a chance that Greg Biffle and Kevin Harvick could make it a one-stop. Harvick's got to be saving way more fuel in that slower pack than Greg Biffle, though. But is he going to run slow enough in that second group that Biffle is going to potentially make up enough time that pitting once he could catch Harvick? That would be something, but we'll see. We haven't had a caution for incident today either, which is also interesting. Can't mark the big one out of potential. The closest we probably were to having the big one was at the start of the race when Biffle blew a tire in the middle of the corner, got bit sideways, and was able to hang on to it somehow. Biffle back in the top 10. Bubba Wallace wasn't for position, but William Byron and Justin Haley were, moving Biffle to 9th place. $60 laps to go at Talladega. Weather Expert Gaming, welcome into the stream. I did see, yeah, I don't know, that was in my YouTube recommended earlier this morning, randomly. And, yeah, I did see the video of Denny Hamlin walking into Brad Keselowski's porta potty after the race. You can tell Brad had to go. His helmet was still on. His helmet and Haas device was still on. He was holding it to the very end of the race. And he had that post-race interview right after he got out of his car. Well, see, that's the weird thing. That post-race interview had to have been after he got out of the Porta-John because, like I said, he still had his helmet and Haas device on when he was going in there. Unless it was before the race. But Denny Hamlin didn't have his on before the race, so I don't know. I don't know when that was. Yeah, it was like a random sky cam, I think, that NBC had on Hamlin and Brad. I don't know why it had to follow it all the way to the porta potties in the infield, but whatever the case was, the camera was following them. custom car paint number. I know on NASCAR 21, like with the Gen 6 car, there was a paint booth. I don't know. I would imagine the season expansion still has a paint booth, but I don't know if you can do it on a next-gen car or not. That was never really something I tried to test out. I've never really been into something like that before, so I couldn't tell you the details on it, but I do know that was an option on the NASCAR 21 side of things. And I heard that was probably the best thing with the game was the paint booth itself. So if that's up your alley, then you probably have a lot of fun with it. Well, Greg Biffle catching the leaders. And I think it's because J.J. Yaley has found himself at the very front of this pack. Greg Biffle passes Larson, Hamlin, Bell, Suarez, Jones, Kurt Busch, Chastain on the back straightaway. Up to second, the race leader, Chase Elliott, got through everything, though. And he's still 5.5 seconds ahead of Greg Biffle. And he lost that group, but J.J. Yaley, Michael McDowell, Austin Cindric, specifically, Yaley was leading it. That allowed for Biffle to catch up, so he's up to second, but Elliott is long gone. Unless he catches up to any slower cars, which he does seem to be drafting behind Cole Custer in the 41, who is going to be slower in 18th. Just got back on the lead lap temporarily. Yaley would technically be the first car lap down. And there were 15 cars on the lead lap at the start of the stage, so those few drivers that got by Elliott on the restart are on the lead lap for now. But Biffle's definitely closing in on him. Will he get to Elliott before he pits, though, will be the next question. The leaders are going to have to pit fairly soon. Suarez and Larson were able to get by Yaley. So I'm actually surprised because we haven't really seen that much, but they did get by. So those two cars trying to draft to catch up to Biffle. They're 2 seconds behind him, but there's only two of them, though. Suarez with a great rally in this race to get stage points at stage 2. Again, no stage points at stage 1 for him. He did win the Daytona 500. Thought I was going to clip that apron again and lift it a little bit. That's going to hurt the momentum. Elliott's still stuck behind Custer. If he could pass him, that'd be big. Suarez Larson not really gaining time on Biffle. They're not losing time anymore, though, since they pulled out of line. Biffle just 2 seconds behind race leader Chase Elliott. Elliott looks low, he just doesn't actually make the pass. Biffle's going to easily get by him. No fight there. Clears Custer. Try to pull back down. Oh, no, I'm going to stay up on the outside. I don't want Elliott getting by him. Elliott will stay behind Custer. Unless he goes to the bottom all the way into 3, may get underneath him. Nope, he'll stay behind him. So just like that, Greg Biffle leads. It'll be an official lead change at the start-finish line this time by. Almost 4 seconds ahead of Suarez back there at third. Once they catch Custer, 99, the 5, and the 9 don't get by very quickly, then they're going to keep losing time to Greg Biffle leading up to pit stops. Again, the driver that Biffle is probably racing right now for the win is going to be Kevin Harvick in the 4, who may be able to make it on one stop in this stage. I think the AI are going to have a better chance than me, especially no drafting help. But we have to try to catch him a second time, so that way if Greg Biffle has to pit twice, which more than likely will happen, Harvick going to try to make it a one stop and win this race on fuel mileage. Assuming we go green to the end of the race, which you wouldn't think would be the case at Talladega, but we didn't have a single caution for incident stage 1 or stage 2, so It could happen here with all 3 stages being fairly equal in length. This final stage only 8 laps longer than both the first 2 stages of the race. That were 60 laps. This one's 68. So it is doable. Gotta keep the hammer down and make no mistakes here. Just kind of hope for the best. It's really out of our control. Musa Montoya, thanks for tuning in tonight. Hit the like button if you haven't done so already. We got 29 likes on the stream. Subscribe if you haven't already. Also, for more daily NASCAR content, live race commentary streams on the race weekend for real NASCAR races. I'll be doing live commentary for the Xfinity and the Truck Series race on Saturday. They'll have a doubleheader at COTA. I will be at COTA for the Cup race on Sunday, though, so definitely want to make sure that you tune in Saturday, but Sunday there will be no live commentary stream this week. I'll keep reminders up in the community tab as I did earlier today as we get closer to the race weekend. We have content during the week still. Throwback Thursdays every Thursday on the channel. Got an interesting one this week. Got some tracks that are not on the NASCAR schedule in the top 3 series that you guys get to pick for this week's Throwback Thursday. And it'll be interesting which race you guys choose. Vote in the community tab on that, by the way. Looks like Chastain gets by Custer. The 2nd place position. And he kind of came up out of nowhere because Suarez and Larson were leading that giant group of cars. And Chastain somehow made his way past Elliott and Larson and Suarez as well as Custer. And now he's leading that group, trying to get right back to Greg Biffle. Maybe fast enough to do it. They're 7 seconds behind him at least. Maybe even 8 seconds behind him. And honestly, they're not going to catch him before they have to pit. They have not pitted yet. Biffle's halfway on fuel already during this stage, so more than likely they're going to have to pit. And honestly, halfway on... Oh, man, I don't know. We're like right at halfway. See, if we run out of gas, we are... gonna be done, honestly. If we run out of gas at lap 34 trying to stretch it into the pits, we are never gonna make it all the way back around. It'd be very risky for Greg Biffle. That'd be one way to try to beat Harvick with already being ahead of him if he can make it a one stop. If he runs out, his race is over. He's not only gonna cost himself a chance at the win. I mean, you would think, yeah, okay, we're locked into the playoffs, so we have 3 wins, go for it. But we're also racing Harvick for the regular season championship, and he happens to be the guy that we're kind of racing for the win here. Coming into this final stage, we're 16 points behind him. We still have 16 races left, but I don't want to fall too far behind. We already fell behind in the last race because we were leading by a couple points, and I think he ended up beating us by like 20 points in the last race, which we did not get any stage points at Dover. I think I finished last if I remember correctly. It was not a fun drive. Justin Haley on pit road. It's the only car in the pits, the first to pit. He was on the lead lap at the end of stage 1. Kevin Harvick, 14th still. Had a Bowman and DiBenedetto who were able to pull away there on that restart. Get their laps back. Definitely tell the 48's got a fast car because he's been leading that draft the whole time. Harrison Burton sitting behind him. So Matty D twice. He hasn't been in that 21 car in a couple years. Honestly, though, considering how Harrison Burton's done in that car compared to Matty D, Matty D qualified for the playoffs on points. And Harrison Burton gets in that car. I get he's a rookie, but he's like 30th in points 2 years in a row. Right around there, 29th, 30th. I mean, that's like a 15-spot difference in the standings from where DiBenedetto was and where Harrison Burton is. And Blaney made the playoffs in that car before, too. Even Paul Menard, when he was missing the playoffs, was finishing like 19th, 20th in points. So, yeah, it is not looking good for Harrison Burton 2 years in. I'm curious to see if he keeps that ride after this year, honestly. I get he is really young, though. And I'm all for, you know, giving a driver a few years to try to learn, but there's got to be a little bit of a threshold. It's like if he's not finishing right around 20th in points, like that equipment is capable of, I don't know. I mean, I just look at other younger drivers that started in underfunded equipment and where they got, you know, those cars too. Like a Bubba Wallace for the 43. I mean, he was still finishing just outside the top 20 in points every year. Oh, man. It's tough, though, too, because he was a little older. Harrison Burt was definitely rushed. I mean, that's the big thing. Harrison Burt was rushed to Cup. I mean, 20 years old. What, 2 years of Xfinity Series experience? And he kind of declined from year 1 to year 2, and then he goes to the Cup. Yeah, man, hate to see them kind of fed to the wolves. I mean, he accepted the job. He didn't have to, I guess. I mean, maybe his ride at Gibbs is over. Maybe that was the only place to go. In that case, I don't blame him, but we'll never know. Definitely rushed. Saw Michael McDowell get loose. I got loose on the apron getting up to speed earlier, too. That's why the last couple times I made green flag stops, I wasn't using the apron. There was no traffic around me, so I was able to climb the banking a little earlier. Size Z, thanks for tuning in. Where's the rest of the field? They are stuck behind some slower lap cars. Well, they were. Not anymore. Chastain is leading them now. But they were for a while. That's why we were able to pull away. But Kevin Harvick appears to be about 6 seconds ahead of us still. I think he's at the tail end of that lead pack. And again, he and Biffle are on the same strategy. Harvick's going to have a pretty quick car, so once everybody else pits, it will be interesting where Harvick and Biffle will be at to each other. Biffle has to pit twice, which it's looking like it is, and Harvick can make it a one stop. Kevin Harvick, as of right now, is in position to win this race. So even though we are leading light years ahead of everybody else, we could be racing Harvick for the win, who pitted during the stage break with us. Nobody else did. Very surprised they haven't wrecked yet. I kind of am too. I had a chance to earlier. I blew a right front tire going into turn 1. It got really sideways in the middle of the pack, and I don't know how I kept it on the outside as everybody was driving by underneath it. I really, looking back on it, I should have spun. I don't know how I didn't. And we've kept the car clean all the way through. I tapped the wall one other time. Luckily, I didn't blow a tire. That was because Cody Ware stuffed me in it. I had a run on him, went 3 wide to the top, and he went to move up the block, and he was not clear. What an idiot. So Harvick kind of leading himself. He's 4 seconds ahead, and he has Alex Bowman for drafting behind, and Bowman will have to pit, though. Fairly soon, I'd have to imagine, considering a lot of other cars have pit. So single car speed, Biffle, Harvick. Biffle's got a chance to catch him, I think. Especially if Harvick keeps running the top. Biffle just taking the shortest way around. You do the math, he's going to catch him. Even if they're equal. If he get that drafting help, I don't know. Biffle going to try to stretch this field run out as far as he can. I will say the car hasn't been as edgy as it was at the very beginning of the race. And I wonder how much of that was just me not being used to the car because of no practice of qualifying, and now I'm used to it on old tires and it doesn't bother me to drive it. Probably a mixture of both. .5 seconds back still. Got that close and not really able to get up to Harvick. He's really hoping Bowman will have to pit at some point.
Only a few laps till we pit.
Swartz and Elliott going to go a lap down. Car's breaking apart in the middle of the corner. Looked like Bowman dropped to the bottom. And he will be side by side with Harvick, but I think he dropped to the bottom because he's going to pit this time. I would have to imagine. So Harvick, that's where things get interesting now. He's going to be by himself. He's 3 seconds ahead of Biffle. Side by side with Bowman in the middle of 3 and 4, but again, the 48 will be pitting. And it is a fuel mileage race here between Greg Biffle and Kevin Harvick. Slow of a pace as Harvick has ran. He's probably going to make it in one stop, but Greg Biffle on 2 is going to have to somehow beat that 4 car of Kevin Harvick. We're going to hope he can make it to that 34 lap mark. Maybe he could make it in one stop. He hasn't been able to do that today. He's going to have to do that twice in the final stage, though. That's the terrifying thing. Not quite close enough to draft off the 4. He's closing in on Kaz Gralla, and if he does not pass him right away, he's going to get stuck behind and run an even slower speed. Be able to save a tad bit more fuel. See how it goes. Biffle drafting off the 4 in the tri-oval. Cuts to the bottom, so he'll lap Harvick for now. Harvick and Fitz still waiting on 4 more cars to hit pit road. I'm surprised they were able to take it as long as they did, honestly. But let's consider, here we go. Biffle drafted off of Gralla. Pulls to the bottom off turn 2. Harvick falling behind. He'll get the draft off the 50 on the back straightaway now as well, but if he does not pass him going into turn 3, just going to be content with trying to save fuel, win the race this way, I guess. Might as well in this situation. I think the 44 car has proven he's got the fastest car in the field. Took a while to really figure out if that was the case. Can we get the win still? Fastest car doesn't always win, especially on the super speedways. Still got to stay out of trouble. There's Chastain coming out of the pits. Harvick will cycle past him with ease as he was on the apron getting into turn 1. Honestly, making up that full lap on Kevin Harvick already, we are very lucky that he got trapped behind a bunch of cars, because if he would have been right there with me every step of the way, that would have made things a lot more interesting, I think. A lot harder for ourselves personally. Harvick trying to get a win to lock himself into the playoffs. Drifting towards the top into turn 1. Getting the draft off the 21 of Harrison Burton. We're going to stay high. Burton dropped towards the bottom. Biffle clears him and then cuts back down to the inside again. Harvick up to 3rd, waiting on the 2nd place car to still have to hit pit road. Evan Stevens, thanks for tuning in. Try to fly to Austin Friday morning? Probably not. I still plan on doing it Saturday. I probably leaning towards before the truck and Xfinity race. I haven't booked the. I'm still undecided because I really want to do those live commentary streams. I'm probably gonna have to do it from where I'm staying at, which they already said that they were okay with it. But I'm going to have to make sure I land and then get in plenty of time to set everything up when I get there, which I think the flight that is available, unfortunately Spirit Airlines, but that's the only flight that leaves out of there early enough in the morning on Saturday that I could get there, because the rest are direct flights with other airlines, so I wouldn't land until middle of the afternoon, which I'd probably make the Xfinity race, but I'd miss the truck race. Probably looking at Saturday morning right now. It could be Friday morning. I could change my mind, but probably looking at Saturday morning. It's just with Friday, because I have to drive to the airport, too, so I'm going to have to pay an extra, like, $17 for parking for that extra day. And then, on top of that, I think the flight itself is, like, $50 more on the Friday morning flight versus the Saturday morning flight that I can get. So that's kind of another reason why I'm probably leaving Saturday. If I could save $50 there and 17 parking, I mean, that's saving me, like, you do the math, it is saving me about $67. I go in on Saturday. So Biffle will stay out one more lap. He'll make it to lap 33. I don't think he is going to be able to go another lap after this, though. This is where Kevin Harvick's fuel conservation's coming into play, because he is probably going to be able to make it through 34 laps. Greg Biffle is going to have to pit this time. He is not going to be able to make it another lap on fuel, so he will pit. May still be the leader, honestly, so far ahead of the rest of the pack. Everybody else could have to pit twice, just like he is in this stage. So 4 tires and fuel this time by Greg Biffle will pit. He's about a lap short of being able to make it. A lot of racetrack here to be able to use. Easily get a downshift. Can't speed onto pit road. Down to 55. And pretty steadily onto pit road there. 4 tires. Full tank of fuel. This 44 Chevrolet trying to go to victory lane. Here at Talladega, a track that Greg Biffle never won at in his NASCAR career. Almost did in his final season on fuel mileage, which Kevin Harvick is trying to beat Biffle on fuel mileage today. Where will Biffle cycle on the 44? Long ways down pit road yet, and then he's going to have to get up to speed. He's still the leader for right now, waiting on the 4 of Harvick and where he'll potentially be. Got to make sure not to spin coming out of the pits, too. Quickly shifts. There we go. He's got no traffic around him, so he is going to be able to try to get up to speed here. And Greg Biffle is still the leader. Bowman, who was with Harvick when he pitted, but I think he is ahead of him now. Harvick probably still stuck behind those slower cars, so Greg Biffle leads. We're back to about 14 cars on the lead lap again. The question is again, though, do we stay green to the end of this race? We have not had a caution for incident so far. Last time that happened was in 2002 at Talladega. We're down to 34 laps to go. Harvick could have pitted that time at the line, and he'll be able to make it to the end. See if he paces that well again the next time also. So Harvick definitely looking to make it a one-stop, but Biffle easily made that time up. Very fortunate. Did I like the Atlanta race? I liked it. It was a little lackluster in the beginning of the race, but I definitely liked how clean it was. I mean, they proved at the end of that race yesterday that you can race clean on a super speedway and still put together some good racing. Dude, those closing, not even just the closing laps. I mean, really, the entire final stage, really. Yeah, they had the big one, but that's going to happen. They didn't let it get out of control after that, so it's kind of a freak thing, and it's part of racing. That was a good. I thought it was a good race. I don't think it was a great race just because of how dry the first half of it was, but it was a smart race by the drivers, and it was a good race. I liked it. Still believer that this track is not going to be a super speedway 8-10 years down the line. It's going to lose too much grip, and I don't know what NASCAR is going to do at that point. I'm curious to see what the track will be like, 10 years from now. They run them unrestricted, but slipping and sliding. It's gonna be. I think it'll be a fun track, honestly. Drivers and fans alike when it gets to that point. Because with the banking, they're going to be going faster than what they were. At Old Atlanta, are they going to be going like unrestricted? Track gets bumpy and loses grip because they're not going to be able to really have the pack racing. It's already barely able to really do it now. So as the track ages and ages and ages year after year after year, it's going to become further and further away from super speedway style racing, and it's going to be, if they go unrestricted though, it's going to be a fast mile and a half. And they're going to be running faster lap times than any other generation of car on a mile and a half on any other track. Like I could see like 27, 28 second lap times. Kevin Harvick is about 8 to 9 seconds behind Greg Biffle. He is the first car behind him. And he has already pitted too. So he'll be on fresher tires also. And maybe he can try to lead a pack of cars and try to get up to Biffle. But as they catch slower cars, it's just going to be harder and harder for Harvick to get up there. Harvick has made his final stop though with that pit stop. And he was able to go about 36, 37 laps, so he'll definitely make it to the end. Now it's just Greg Biffle. Really hoping it stays green. You got to pick when to pit, really, here. We are down to 30 laps to go. Biffle trying to win his 4th race of the first 10 of the season. Close in on Harvick for that regular season championship. Even if he finishes 2nd. Overall today, we'll gain 6 points out of the 17 we were down on him. So we'll definitely close that gap. Brian Jensen, thanks for tuning in. Why do I like Biffle? I don't know, really. I mean, he was my favorite driver when I was growing up. I guess I liked a lot of the Roush drivers, and he was just my favorite of them growing up. When I first got into watching NASCAR, can kind of first remember watching NASCAR, he was really, really good, contending for championships at the time, too. So, yeah, I mean, he was like finishing 2nd and 3rd in points early in my NASCAR memory. Yeah, all those reasons. I really liked his National Guard car. One of my favorite paint schemes of all time. So a combination of all those, I guess. Kyle Busch back in 37th, not having himself a great day. I wonder if he didn't DNF, but Les Gillen did too. I definitely know Ryan Blaney DNF. Good thing he's got a couple wins this season, but he's going to fall pretty far behind in the regular season point standings because he was up there in the top 4 as well coming into this race today. Not going to be there anymore. Really wanted caution. Caution would definitely make things interesting. I'll tell you that much. Thinking of the lead as we have, I'm almost tempted to kind of short pit just to ensure the fact I'll like win the race off pit road and be able to get back through the field again. I'd stay out of the pits. I'd be on older tire. Yeah, I don't know. This is a risky situation. Really, I mean, honestly, I'm kind of screwed either way if a caution comes out. They're going to be right behind me, or they're going to be ahead of me after the pits, or I short pit. I stay out. I'll be the leader. As long as I'm not, on the backside of the start-finish line when the caution comes out, then I'd end up getting a lap down. That's probably the biggest risk, really, with short pitting in this situation, is a scoring glitch. There's a Kenseth ban now in Elliott. Yeah, and even when, like, drivers would leave Roush, I was kind of somewhat, you know, like those drivers just for being Biffle's teammates a long time, like a Carl Edwards or Matt Kenseth, Jamie McMurray, Mark Martin. Not as much when I was a kid with Kurt Busch. When I was a kid, I thought he could go F himself. I mean, now it's obviously different. You know, looking back on it, I have a different perspective versus when I was like 8. As you should. I mean, if you think the same way you did when you were 8 years old, when you're, you know, my age, which is 23, you got something wrong with you. Fuel mileage is as bad as 95.4 on it. Yeah, I'm not getting great fuel mileage on myself. And being able to go 33 laps of fuel at Talladega is definitely not very long. Consider the fact in real life they could definitely go at least a few laps beyond that. Maybe closer to 40, really. I mean, the fuel window in this game is a lot shorter at pretty much every track, too, though. For everybody. "25 laps to go at the line." Make that 24 to go at the start-finish line in this race. And if you haven't already, hit the like button on the stream. Helps me out a ton. And also subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. Tomorrow night on the channel, on a different stream, not this stream. I was about to say on the stream, but that's not accurate. I don't plan on streaming 24 hours a day. Or ever, for that matter. Maybe someday. I wouldn't rule it completely out, but it'd have to be an interesting circumstance to be able to do something like that. As far as tomorrow night's stream goes, we'll be racing NASCAR 07. That stream will start at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we will run the Busch Series season opener at Daytona on a custom schedule season with that game. And you guys voted for me to race as Jimmy Johnson in the Busch Series for that one, so we will try to get Jimmy Johnson his first career Xfinity Series title. He only has one career Xfinity win. It was back at Chicagoland, his last full-time season in the Xfinity Series. Which was back in 2001. So, yeah, we'll see if we can get Jimmy Johnson that one of the NASCAR championships he didn't win. He never ran in the Truck Series, so we'll never have a chance to do that. But we will try to win him a championship in the Xfinity Series as a Cup regular in the NASCAR 07 game. I honestly forgot he was in that game and in that driver lineup until I was going through the driver lineup when I had the game, and I was like, oh, I forgot Jimmy Johnson's in this. Because I just never remembered Jimmy Johnson running ever in the Xfinity Series, but I guess he would have had to have ran at least one race in 06 that allowed for him to be in the game. So, yeah, we've ran Jimmy Johnson in the Cup Series to get his 8th career Cup title already. We actually did that in NASCAR Heat 5, but then he won a vote in the Classic game also, but now he has won the vote in the Busch Series. So, we'll see if we can get it done. And I did win the Daytona 500 as well on NASCAR 07, so a little momentum on my side going into that Busch race. I still suck at that track in the EA games, but we got the win when it mattered the most in the Daytona 500. It took me 7 attempts to do it over the last couple of years on the channel's existence with the EA games. Finally did it. It took 4 games, 4 separate EA games. It took 7 different races in the Daytona 500. We finally got it done. And of all drivers we won it was with Mark Martin, which is who we're driving as in the Cup Series in that game. You guys can still vote for the Truck Series. We're on the final poll as of today for who I'll drive in that series. We're down to the final 4. So if you haven't voted yet on that, it's in the community tab, and that voting poll will end at the right before I go to bed. I'll close the poll tonight, so probably around like 10:30. So you'll have it till then, Eastern Standard Time. So really a little less than 2 hours to try to cast your vote if you haven't already. So be sure to do that after the stream. We are down to 20 laps to go in the Geico 500 today at Talladega. And we will see. And we know Harvick will make it on fuel. You have to assume that Greg Biffle will cycle out of the pits ahead of him. Have to make sure we don't speed on pit road. And we should be able to make that final stop. We have to hope that we don't get any cautions. Unless I am behind Harvick, then I would kind of like a yellow, but you know Harvick will be good on fuel to the end. Fan of other... Oh yeah, I watch a lot. I've been watching a lot of March Madness. I played basketball in high school, so I kind of fell out of watching the NBA the last few years, but I got back into it this year with FanDuel and other sportsbook stuff being available to bet on, honestly, in state of Ohio, so that allowed me to really kind of get back into watching basketball, so I'm kind of thankful for that, really, because, I mean, I'm sure I would have gotten back into watching it at some point in time, but I remember it had been a couple years since I watched it, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is a thing. So, I don't watch it on the weekends, really, because NASCAR, you know, occupies my weekends right now. But I watch a lot of basketball. I watch a lot of hockey during the week. I prefer hockey over basketball, personally, when I'm watching, like my Detroit Red Wings. It kind of stinks, though, too, because the Pistons stink. I'm sure when the Pistons get good again, I'll be watching just as much basketball as I do hockey, but, you know, until the Pistons get something working here, at least the Red Wings are on the rise, and they're in a playoff hunt right now. Not looking great that they'll make it, but you never know. Got like, I think like 15 games left, somewhere around there, 16. Let's see if they can make a charge over the next month. But yeah, I watch a lot of that during the week when I'm not watching NASCAR. Then during the off season, I watch football. See, that's the thing. It's like with football, because NASCAR is on the weekends. I watch NASCAR. I do the live commentary stuff for NASCAR. That's my passion. I don't really watch football until like week 8 or 9 of the NFL season when NASCAR's done. So, you know, I'll keep track of like if the Packers are playing on like a Monday night, I'll watch it or something like that, or Sunday night after the NASCAR race. But if they're not playing prime time, I don't watch it until the end of the season, or end of the NASCAR season. So Silver Car leading this group of cars just up ahead. Massive run for Biffle in the draft. Pulls out of line, back straightaway. Now all these cars gonna have to pit before Biffle. Biffle was the most recent car to hit pit road. J.G. Yaley slowing everybody up. Man, Christopher Bell's falling back to 10th after winning stage 1 earlier. Balicki in 9th will go a lap down. So down to just 8 cars on the lead lap at Talladega right now. Things very far spaced apart. And we'll have 16 laps to go in this race when we get back to the start-finish line. Things are looking good for Greg Biffle. Celtics and... Oh, so you're a Boston fan. And the Bruins, man, they have to win the championship this year, how good they're playing. I'm kind of pulling for them to get the record for the most wins in a single season just because that'd be cool to see something like that. I know they were the fastest to get to 50 wins. That was when they beat Detroit or the night before they beat Detroit, and then they end up losing that next game to them. I noticed they haven't been as strong in the middle portion of the year as what they were at the start of the year. I feel like they'll win a couple games in a row, then they'll lose a couple in a row, where at the start of the year they were literally unbeatable. But now they're at least showing some weaknesses as teams start to figure them out, I think. Couple acquisitions, obviously, during the trade deadline. They got Tyler Bertuzzi, so kind of stinks seeing him leave Detroit in that trade. I know he played good against the Red Wings, the 2 games I saw the other week. I actually was able to watch those games because they were on early enough in the afternoon. It was before the race. I didn't watch the end of the Sunday game because the race started earlier that day. I only watched the first 2 periods and then started the live stream here, but Saturday I watched all of that one. They lost that one. It was a good game, though. They put up a good fight. That's what's so promising with Detroit, though, is that they're... I mean, if they could beat a team like Boston and they could be that competitive even when they lose to Boston, then I know that they can beat anybody in the league any given day. They're just not consistent enough, which is why they're in the spot they're in late in the season. They were off to a strong start, and in the middle of the year they really started to backtrack, and now they're getting back to about what they were at the start of the year, but it might be too little too late this season to make the playoffs. But they're like a year or 2 out from, I think, being right back in title contention. Assuming Boston hopefully takes a step back like 3 years from now. So if they don't, then you would imagine they would, though, just because they'll get older. I mean, it's so hard to sustain. I mean, you kind of look at Tampa. They were so dominant, and then last year they didn't quite make it to the Stanley Cup. This year they don't look quite as good as the year before. They're just getting older. You don't sustain that for so long. It was an enigma, honestly, that Detroit was able to sustain that for as long as they did. But then when they got real old, it was getting ugly there towards the end, barely scraping into the playoffs and knowing that there was zero future, and that's why they've been in the gutter the last 5-6 years since that playoff streak ended, just because they literally had nobody in the pipeline. We were bottom of the barrel the last handful of years. This year looking a little better. 12 to go this time by for Greg Biffle. To go at the line. A little over a quarter tank of fuel left still. And we've got 1 car on pit road right now. Again, we know that Greg Biffle will have to pit before the end of this race. And if you're Biffle, you may want to consider pitting similar to when everybody else is on pit road. If most of that pack up ahead stays out this time, I'm going to pit, because I don't want there to be a caution. I pit and I'm behind everybody. That'll take us out of a shot to win, because we won't have enough laps left to get through the pack. It's taken me a while on the restarts to get all the way to the lead. So the plan right now is for Greg Biffle to come onto pit road this time. Looks like most of that pack stayed out, so Biffle is on his way in. Final stop of the day. He's going to kind of short pit. Not having to push his tires all the way to the end of the run. He was going to be 2 to 3 laps short anyway. 4 tires and fuel for Greg Biffle. He wants the grip. Just in case we get a restart here towards the end, that he still has a chance. Going for the 4th win of the year. This has probably been the most complete race that Biffle has driven from a safe and... I mean, I know Bristol are dominated, but... we've ran this race so smart, honestly, and I know I blew that right front earlier, but I hit the wall so, like, I just tapped it and the tire blew, and I only hit the wall twice all day. The other time, Cody Ware forced us into the wall, so. Just that one minor mistake earlier in the race. We came back from it after being a lap down early. Here come the leaders. Biffle's going to stay on the bottom of the track. I really hope everybody stays wide. Yeah, they will. I figured they would. They're pulling to the bottom, trying to get that draft off of Greg Biffle. And Hamlin going to try to lead that outside lane with Daniel Suarez behind him. Chase Briscoe is the race leader. Somehow got up to the front of the field. He's drafted off the leaders just up ahead, and Greg Biffle just out in front of Denny Hamlin, Daniel Suarez. I like to think Hamlin's car is fast enough to catch up, but they may have to pit sometime soon. There goes Briscoe into the pits. Sorry, no, that was one of the lappers that actually came in. And Kevin Harvick, by the way, is ahead of Greg Biffle right now with 10 laps to go. He scored in 12th, though, so I think... Yeah, never mind. He's ahead of us because he's in 12th. Biffle on the lead lap. So once Chase Briscoe pits, Greg Biffle's going to be in a good spot here to win this race. Just hoping it stays green to the end at this point. And Briscoe is coming in. Greg Biffle to the lead at Talladega. 9 laps to go as he is back out in front. A lot of cars still have to hit pit road yet. Harvick going to go a lap down. He's out of contention if a caution comes out. There's no free pass in this game. And Biffle will definitely stay out of the pits to keep that track position at the front of the field if we get a yellow. Mark DeMars, welcome in. Better late than never. It's a smart race for Greg Biffle. It's going to be 50 points. No stage 1 to stage 1, but we got the stage win in stage 2. And now looking for the race win. That'll be 6 playoff points on the day. And again, this will be the 4th win in 10 races to start the year for Biffle. We still have 2 more races at Talladega left. Got to take control of those races, stay out of trouble as well. Now, I will say, I think it's the next Talladega race. It could be the 3rd one, but there is a 50% race. That will be much different. That's going to be probably a 2-stop race. Maybe 3. Honestly, it's going to be like a fuel mileage race on whether it's going to be a 2 or a 3-stopper, I think. And the stages will be shorter, too. So, yeah, that one will be a little interesting. But, I mean, if he does what he did in this race in the final race, or the other 100% race at Talladega, we'll be all right. Rayson Campbell, thanks for tuning into the stream tonight as well. 3 hours on the stream, by the way. I figured it kind of would be, being a 500-mile race, but yeah, I mean, this thing is all but won. Just got to stay green. We have not had a caution for incident all day. We're down to just 7 laps to go. Bill Moore, welcome into the stream. Greg Biffle about to get that 4th win. Sweet, sweet victory, yeah. Denny Hamlin up to 2nd. After Briscoe did pit, Hamlin still has to hit pit road yet. Harvick, you would think, would cycle to 2nd, but he is about to go a lap down even to Hamlin and those guys. So I don't even know that Harvick, when he was in kind of a lock for the top 2, is still going to finish top 2. If we go to overtime, is he even going to make it on fuel to the end of the race also? Boy, Greg Biffle. Oh my god, I thought that was a caution. Oh my gosh, my heart sank. Oh man, that was the... Woo! I thought that was a caution. I'm like, no! Oh man. We're okay. We're okay. Oh, don't wreck. Middle corner. We're okay. We're okay. Watch the caution come out like 2 seconds later anyways. Like, oh, what the... No, we're good. I thought that was a caution when The game kind of stopped like that, and that icon came up. Nope, my controller battery just died. Almost made it all 500 miles. Well, the Wall's going to go another lap down. Rough start to the season for him. I do believe he can win one of these super speedway races, but he was off the pace for some reason today. He's been one of the faster cars on the super speedways, at least the 2 Daytona races, so I'm kind of surprised he, back at 30th, just kind of off the pace compared to the other Toyotas who have had speed in this race. Especially Christopher Bell winning stage 1 earlier. Down to about 4.5 laps to go. People just wants to get to that white flag. Four to go. 3 more laps to get to the white flag. That's the most important flag as of right now. I mean, you would think the checkered flag is more important, but in this situation, it's the white flag for ourselves. There's 9 drivers on the lead lap. And caution came out, be in that weird spot where a lot of them will get trapped a lap down due to a scoring glitch. And here is Suarez about to go lap down anyway. In the 99. Down to 8 cars on the lead lap. A caution-free Talladega race. Who would have thought? Kurt Busch, Chase Elliott coming out of the pits. 3 to go. They'll go a lap down. Suarez will cycle in front of them. Suarez might finish top 5 at all the super speedway races, all 3 of them so far. Assuming he can cycle back up to 5th. He's up to 7th right now. I don't know how many more of the leaders still have to hit pit road. I mean, that's one thing. If a caution comes out, I don't even know that they'll be on the lead lap or not. It'll depend. And if they cross the start-finish line before us or not. 2 to go. Definitely finish on the lead lap to the end of the race the way things are looking now. Nobody on the apron trying to get up to speed that time. 2 to go. 1 more lap to get to the white flag if you're Greg Biffle in the 44. And New York Racing will go to victory lane for the 4th time this year. This will be the first time on a non-short track. Did not sweep the short tracks though. The last race at Dover had an abysmal performance. Ended up last. I beat around quite a bit in that race. Just wasn't fast from the get-go when we unloaded. But even in the play odds with the small teams here today at the Super Speedway, and this was one he was able to capitalize. He finished 40th and 38th the first 2 Super Speedway races of the year. But today he's going to end up with a win. My average finish is still at 19.6, despite the fact I was 4th in points coming into the day today. Chase Briscoe at 5th, going to go a lap down. Definitely know he pitted already. A 6th place car somewhere in there. I'm not sure exactly who it was, but they're going to go a lap down. Chastain and Hamlin just coming out of the pits. 3rd and 4th. They'll go a lap down. Harvick's still going to be behind a lot of these guys, I do believe. So just 2 cars on the lead lap. This is the final lap, so if we do get a caution, it will end the race. It'll be a caution-free Talladega race. If Biffle could just get back to the start-finish line, he's a half a lap away from victory. The easiest Talladega win that he'll probably ever have, or anybody will ever have for that matter. Sketchy on those restarts there, everybody was kind of bunched together, especially stage 1 and stage 2, trying to figure out the car with no practice was probably the most difficult time. And believe it or not, we were a lap down at the end of stage 1 in this one, but still won stage 2 and about to win the race. Checkered flag is in the air, and Greg Biffle will win at Talladega. 4th win of the year, his first career win at the 2.66 mile super speedway. And I think Larson pitted on the last lap of the race. So that will end up having Greg Biffle lap the field in the final stage. Everybody pitted twice, by the way, so I lapped the field on speed in the final stage. I wouldn't say on speed because they were trapped behind slower cars, because they did get out ahead of me. And when they were able to draft with faster cars, I couldn't keep up with them, but when they were getting caught behind the slower cars like we saw on the short tracks earlier this season, they just couldn't pass them. Same thing today at Talladega. So the short tracks and the super speedways in this game, for whatever reason, the AI, even though they're 10 times faster than like a BJ McLeod, Cody Ware, Josh Balicki, they can't actually pass them for whatever reason. So you would think short track is somewhat an excuse because at least it's a tighter track. Most of them are one groove. But here, like, how does that happen at Talladega? Like, this track is like 4 lanes wide, if not more, but it is what it is. Finishing results, Greg Biffle with the win. Kyle Larson finishes 2nd. Chase Briscoe 3rd. Denny Hamlin 4th. Ross Chastain ends up 5th. Just missing out on the top 5 was his Trackhouse teammate Daniel Suarez in 6th, so he does not finish top 5 in every super speedway race this season, but 6 or better in the first 3. Pretty good for him. Chase Elliott ends up 7th. Kurt Busch 8th. Christopher Bell 9th. And Kevin Harvick will round out the top 10 in 10th place. I mean, he pretty much was guaranteed a top 2 finish, and he just couldn't keep the pace up in that final stage. Got caught behind a lot of slower cars, and pitting was probably the detriment to him at the end of the stage, really. Probably could have had a better finish if it wasn't for it. Or maybe he wouldn't have... Well, he was 2nd at the end of the stage, so yeah, I mean, he would have been up there with the leaders, and maybe he could have had a top 5, but instead ends up finishing 10th. So that means he gets 27 points for the finish. I get 40. We gave 13. He gave 1 in the stage. So, doing my math correctly, Kevin Harvick should still be the regular season points leader, but he is now only 3 points ahead of us. So we led for 1 race. We led going into Dover, but then finishing last, I lost the points lead. Harvick outscored me by 20, which gave him a 17-point lead, and now the lead is cut down to 3. So still just led in points once this year, despite 4 wins in the first 10 races. And we just lacked that consistency at the very beginning of the year. That was a big thing. But huge points day today, and we actually, our next race, next week on the channel on NASCAR 22 on another super speedway, one that we haven't raced this year, Atlanta Super Speedway. Then, of course, the Cup and Truck and Xfinity just raced that this weekend, so we'll get to test out the Atlanta Super Speedway for the next race in NASCAR 22. Again, tomorrow, NASCAR 7 Busch Series, and then NASCAR 7 Truck Series on Wednesday night. Both start times will be at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We had 4 DNFs today: Ryan Blaney, Corey LaJoie, Ty Gillen, and Kyle Busch, and I kind of wondered if Busch DNF because I saw him on the leaderboard a lot when we passed start-finish line, similar to Blaney back in stage 2, so that was the case there. Take a quick screenshot. We'll get to see Greg Biffle in victory lane. And once that happens, we will end this stream. By the way, just a spoiler alert, his helmet is on during the victory lane celebration in this game for whatever reason, so. No burnouts. Yeah, unfortunately, there's no burnouts in this game like in NASCAR 07, so that's unfortunate. We deserve a burnout after this win. We lapped the field at Talladega. Pulling out our hitter, Bill Elliott. Mid-80s Bill Elliott. So there we go. Thanks for everybody tuning in again. Be sure to hit the like button if you haven't done so on the stream already. Helps me out a ton. And also subscribe if you haven't already. Again, 65% of viewers of the channel in the last month are not subscribed. So a lot of you guys watching on a daily or weekly basis. I appreciate the support. It helps. But definitely hit that subscribe button because that helps even more. And gets this channel and anything NASCAR oriented obviously out to other people that watch NASCAR on the race weekends, and definitely want to get the biggest community possible because it's a lot of fun, honestly, seeing a lot of you guys in the chat when we're watching the races, whether it be on Thursday with the old races or the live races as I'm commentating them on the race weekends as well. So appreciate the support that you guys give me. I'll see you guys tomorrow night. Have a good rest of your Monday evening.